calling. Oh, arise, sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers have labored, and our time to serve is now. The glory of the new Edo nation will forever be our pride. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Our treasures are found in all nations, and our greatness is second to none. Our history forever shall be written, how our kings have endured all times. Our people cultured in unity, our hearts beat for the land. Rich culture, stories of heroes, legacies forever be. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Unite and stand with each other, forgive and let it go. Together we can stand, come what may, and the future lies in us. Teach our children to teach their children what our fathers taught. To fear and love the Creator, only then shall we succeed. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be.
Hello, a very good evening to you, Edo people all across the world, and of course, friends of Edo State who have found time to join us today on this particular program. It is the Edo State Town Hall meeting, an interactive section with the governor of Edo State and of course the government of Edo State. In the meantime, we are trying to establish connection with the governor and of course the other members of the team that will be addressing us today. Meanwhile, we expect everybody to stay calm. Let's be civil, and of course, in a very few minutes from now, I believe we're going to start the program officially. My name is Comrade Lamti Ikmamusa Oreahi. I'm going to be your host tonight, and of course, I've got some other colleagues of mine that I'll be introducing later on when the program starts. Thank you very much for finding time to join us. May God bless you.
Edo must move forward. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. No comparison. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Forward ever. Backward never. Obaseki na the man. We know. Forward ever. Backward never. man. We know Edo must move forward. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. No confederation. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Forward ever. Backward never. Obaseki na the man. We know. Forward ever. Backward never. Shaibu self na the man. We know Edo must move forward. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. No confederation. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Hey, they call me franchise. Peter production. Yo yo yo. No confederation. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Forward ever. Backward never. Obaseki na the man. We know. Forward ever. Backward never. Shaibu self na the man. We know. Edo must move forward. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. No confederation. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Forward ever. Backward never. Obaseki na the man. We know. Forward ever. Backward never. Shaibu self na the man. We know. Edo must move forward. Yo yo yo. No confederation. Move forward. Backward never. Yo yo yo. Forward ever.
The ancient city is calling. Oh, arise, sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers have labored, and our time to serve is now. The glory of the new Edo nation will forever be our pride. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Our treasures are found in all nations, and our greatness is second to none. Our history forever shall be written, how our kings have endured all times. Our people cultured in unity, our hearts beat for the land. Rich culture, stories of heroes, legacies forever be. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Unite and stand with each other, forgive and let it go. Together we can stand, come what may, and our future lies Teach our children to teach their children what our fathers taught. To fear and love the Creator, only then shall we succeed. Beautiful Adam, glorious Adam, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Adam, glorious Adam, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. The ancient city is calling. Oh, arise, sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers have labored, and our time to serve is now. The glory of the new Edo nation will forever be our pride. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Our treasures are found in all nations, and our greatness is second to none. Our history forever shall be written, how our kings have endured all times. A people cultured in unity, our hearts beat for the land. Rich culture, stories of heroes, legacies forever be. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Unite and stand with each other, forgive and let it go. Together we can stand, come what may, and the future lies in us. Teach our children to teach their children what our fathers taught. To fear and love the Creator, only then shall we succeed. Beautiful Adam, glorious Adam, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Adam, glorious Adam, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be.
Okay, Edo people and friends of Edo State across the world, yet again, I want to say I welcome you all to this event. Of course, I am very, very delighted to welcome you. This is an auspicious occasion. It's a meeting with the government and the governor of Edo State. It's a town hall meeting, and it's expected to be an interactive section wherein we're expected to be updated on the activities of Edo State Transition Committee. Importantly, we are going to be hearing from the governor of Edo State, who is going to be giving us up-to-date information on where governance is as far as Edo State is concerned, particularly taking it from his inauguration, which was on November 2020. The program is tagged The Road So Far. In the course of this program, we shall entertain questions from the Zoom floor audience. As usual, the governor or relevant members of his team are expected to respond. For all of us, we expect civility and respect in our comportment. We shall not hesitate to mute or remove anyone we find unruly or disrespectful to the rules of engagement. My name, once again, is Comrade Lamte Ikmonsa Oriahi, and I'm your anchor for tonight. To join me anchor the program are other erudite sons and daughters of Edo State who actually need no introduction. And without much ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Loretta Uboroko. Dr. Loretta, please.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good evening to the entire house. We thank every friend and every member of the Edo State community who has joined us this evening. As with all events, we have set a bit of the ground rules, but we must all know that there are a few things we need to add. One of them that is key is that when we are not speaking, please, could we very, very kindly mute our microphones? And for those who are going to speak, they're going to keep their set times. We'll have time for Q&A, and it's going to be one person, strictly one person, one question. The question is intended to last only 60 seconds. And if it goes beyond that, the system has been programmed to mute us. Please, please, let us be civil in our language. The chat is open for us to use, and periodically we are going to be using the chat. So let me hand us over now to our very big brother, Uncle Sonny Irabo. And as we go along, we will continue to tell us what we need to do to make us have a smooth running program. Thank you, everybody. I still remain Loretta Oduwari Ogboro Oko. Thank you.
Uncle Sonny Irabo, if you're in the house, please unmute yourself and, of course, lead us into this program. Backroom staff, can we unmute him if he's muted, please? Okay, have we been able to find him?
He's in the house. He was here a while ago.
Thank you very much. I was muted and I kept saying unmute my microphone. So I hope the backroom people will remember that. Good evening, everybody. And I'm very humbled to be with you. And I welcome you all. I hope that today will be, as my colleagues have said, a very nice and civil interaction, since we're going to listen to His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, about the situation in Edo State, an update, as it were. I just want to thank you all and to say that I'm here to serve you, and we'll expect the best from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Sonny Irabo. Uncle Sonny Irabo, you just go ahead and, of course, bring on the HOS so that it can lead us into the discourse for this evening.
Okay. Yes. Once again, good evening, and let me just welcome Barrister Anthony Okungbowa, Chairman of the Edo State Transition Committee. And he, of course, will talk about the other members of the Transition Committee. He's the head of service. And sir, if you are in the house, please go ahead and speak. Barrister Anthony Okungbowa, head of service, Edo State.
Thank you, Uncle Sonny Irabo. It's nice meeting you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, members of the Transition Committee, distinguished members, distinguished are very distinguished people in the diaspora. Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of us to this event. I'd like to especially welcome Mr. Governor and the Deputy Governor here, and to thank them immensely for finding time to be with us in spite of their very busy schedule. This is the fourth in the series of engagements that the Transition Committee and government have been having with stakeholders in the governance process. First, let me just say that for Mr. Governor, government exists for the people. And as such, every step that government takes in governing the people, the people must get to know what is going on. And so government has made it a point of duty to ensure that the people are briefed and carried along in every process of governance. And that is the essence of our being here today. I'm sure that is what the draftsman of the Constitution described or referred to in Section 14, subsection 2, paragraph A of the 1999 Constitution as amended, when they said that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this Constitution, derives all its powers and authority. So the essence of this engagement is to brief our people in diaspora on what government has been doing, particularly through the Transition Committee. Why was the Transition Committee set up in the first place? What efforts have we made? What transformation initiatives are being implemented by government? And things in that direction. We also expect that at the end of the day, we'll have feedbacks from you, and we hope that with those feedbacks, the process of governance will be made better. So once again, I'd like to welcome you all to this event. I will just be doing a presentation. It's a bit lengthy. I want to plead with you to just be patient with me while we go through, but as much as possible, I will run through the presentation. Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, may I crave your indulgence to just allow the admin to share his screen with us. I could share mine, but I feel a little more comfortable allowing him to share his screen. Your Excellency, with your permission.
Yes, please, admin, go ahead and share the slides.
You are free to share your screen, sir.
Please, sir, would you kindly turn on your camera and video, please?
Okay.
Excellent, sir.
Thank you.
Then I think you have host rights to share your screen, sir.
Okay, I'm going to request that the admin shares the screen. My admin, yes. Just hold it. Yeah, it's Ohuyo Ernest. So you give that permission for him to share his screen with us.
What's the name, sir?
Ohuyo Ernest. Ernest. Ohuyo.
Okay, I got him now. Permission granted.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is a presentation by the chairman of the Transition Committee and head of service at those states at the public engagement of the committee with those in diaspora held today, Saturday, 15 May 2021. Next slide. Go to the next slide. Okay, I will just begin with two comments, two quotations. One by His Excellency, Mr. Governor, and the second one from the book Why Nations Fail, The Origin of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty. I'll begin with the second one. The town of Nogels, I hope I got that correctly, is divided by a fence. On the north side is the United States, and on the southern side, on the south side is Mexico. And the inhabitants on the north side face lower crime rates, live longer, and earn 3 times as much as their southern neighbors. Now, two places which share an ethnic background, a geographical location, and climate could be so different And it reveals that to prosper, citizens need inclusive institutions which create virtuous cycles of innovation, economic expansion, and more widely held wealth. That's, as I said, from Why Nations Fail, The Origin of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty by Daron Acemoglu and James A. Robinson. This slide actually speaks to the difference leadership can make in the lives of citizens. And then the next quotation is from Mr. Godwin himself. Quote, the civil service is the bureaucracy that is responsible for making government function. Accordingly, we aim to re-energize, retool, and reskill the civil service as it has a critical role to play in reforming Edo State. This is going to form the fulcrum of the discussion that we're going to have today, this presentation. Next slide. The Transition Committee of Edo State was inaugurated by Mr. Governor on the 9th of October 2020. The members of the committee are as follows. I will just skip that with your permission. We're 24. The mandate of the committee is to take stock, first to take stock of the last administration's activities over the last 4 years. The first tenure of Mr. Governor, including his set targets, achievements, and challenges. Secondly, to set an agenda for the incoming administration, that is this current term, taking cognizance of ongoing projects, proposed developmental and transformational programs, and electionary campaign policies, and to produce a comprehensive report for reference purposes. There's a fourth, which is that the committee also has the mandate of interacting with MDAs. By MDAs, we mean ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and other institutions towards emplacing a governance structure that can deliver on the mega agenda of government. I'm sure we all know what mega means, making Edo great again. Now, we begin more or less with the inauguration speech of the governor, where he identified the civil and public service as a fulcrum of development, a veritable instrument of delivery of good governance to the people. The governor has consistently made the point that for government to function effectively, it must have an effective civil and public service. In fact, it describes the public service in general as the engine of government, and that without a good and effective engine, it's impossible for a vehicle to go to its place of destination. As such, if government is to function effectively, it's important that that engine of government, which is the public service, functions effectively. So Mr. Governor has identified the need to strengthen the public service so that it can effectively play its assigned role in the scheme of things. At the moment, the public service is weak, although efforts have been made over the past 4 years, 4.5 years now, to improve on this capacity to deliver. But the position now is that it is not strong enough to effectively take on its responsibility, and that's why all the efforts have been made. We'll just take a look at the head count. First, the core civil service. On the whole, the total personnel that we have for the public service is 3,470. And that's made up of the core ministries, which have 4,236. And then the other parts of the public service, including agencies, boards, local government workers, legislature, judiciary, and senior secondary, 29,181. Altogether, 33,470. Okay, now in terms of cost, it costs the government of Edo State nearly 22 billion yearly to pay salaries and allowances of public servants. And if you put that together with pensions, what you have is nearly 40 billion per annum. We look at the age profile of the service. At the moment, there are more people from 45 years to 60. You know, the retirement age is 60. But there are more people between 45 and 60 than the other side of it. So it means that we have an aging service. We have 94 ministries and departments and agencies of government. Next slide, please. So from the data that we just supplied, 3 issues arise. First, the cost of personnel. the cost of payment of salaries and allowances, is it justified? And then what value is government getting from the huge expense in terms of salaries and allowances? Can we make service a lot more productive to secure the interest of the public? And then looking at the number of MDAs, do we really need 94 MDAs? How do we achieve a lean government without sacrificing quality? Can we merge MDAs and still achieve the same or even better outcomes? Then is the service understaffed in terms of quality and quantity? What critical injections do we need to make into the personnel profile of the service to achieve optimal performance? These are the issues that have engaged the attention of government and, of course, the transition committee over the past few months.
Our HOS, sir, please, I hate to interject, but if we can just make your slides full slide view mode so people can view it better.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll try and do that. Okay, is it better now?
No, sir. It just needs to be slide view. That way it takes the whole of the screen and the audience can full screen view mode.
I think that's where we are now.
The presentation, then probably on the right side, he has to move because he's still allowing the slide to show the split into two.
The bigger slide should be the one on full screen, not the small one.
So you have a thumbnail and then a sub-screen. So you can remove the thumbnail and make it a full screen.
Exactly, by using the mouse to move this thing out to the left, to the right, sorry. Yes, just move it completely out. Don't need that.
I'm sure Ernest has got it now. We will let him sort it out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, the slide before this one. Okay, over the years, what has happened is that people were just brought into the public service, not because they deserve to be there, but because they knew one person or the other who could help them in. You know, it used to be the case that if you knew somebody in government, you could come into the service, whether you deserved to be in service or not, whether you had the qualities to be there or not, the fact that you knew somebody was just enough for you to come in. But Mr. Governor has decided that never again would that happen in the public service of Edo State, and is making very serious efforts, which we'll discuss in the course of this presentation, towards changing the paradigm. Okay, next slide. How are we addressing these issues, these challenges? Next slide, please. Okay, now we refer to this slide as Obaseki's philosophy of governance. In the first term, there was a thread that ran through governance. It was what we call the thematic pillars, and there were 6 of these pillars. We had institutional reform, we had economic revolution, we had culture and tourism, we had infrastructure development, we had environmental sustainability, and then we also had social welfare enhancement. Since the beginning of this term, we have expanded these thematic pillars. And so basically, what we're doing now is to build a modern public service where efficiency, productivity, and service delivery are all acts. Successful delivery and efficient use of Edo State public infrastructure and assets to encourage and facilitate good public service experience. We're ensuring that good healthcare, education and sports programs of global standards are available for all in Edo State with value for money delivered, and also achieve improved living conditions. We're looking at holistically developing through sustainable economic growth to generate employment opportunities and ensure citizens' empowerment. We are becoming the premier destination, that's our hope, with the efforts that we're making for leisure, for culture, for heritage, with the potential for business tourism. And then we hope to attain acceptable global standards in environmental waste management and improved access to clean, potable water. Next slide. Now we have MEGA, making Edo great again. What does it entail? For us, our vision is that before 2050, Edo State will be the best state to live and prosper in Nigeria. And then the mission, of course, is making Edo great again better. We're working on governance reforms. How do we intend to achieve that? We're working on governance reforms. We're working on government as an enabler, large local sustainable economy. We are very concerned about technology and data-driven governance. Now we'll talk about e-governance, we'll talk about more later. And we're talking about citizen-centric leadership that is interested in the welfare of the citizens, that is driven by the citizens themselves, and then building physical and digital infrastructure. Business line. Our aspirations are to develop a modern and progressive state where every citizen is empowered to live with opportunities to live life in its fullest, and then to make the state an economic hub and the #1 choice for investors, both foreign and local. And then thirdly, to improve the ease of doing business in the state and be ranked #1 in Nigeria, both for startup and existing businesses. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, now the transformation project objectives. I said earlier that the public service is being transformed because it's the engine room of government, just as the governor has consistently stated. And we cannot have an effective government that delivers quality governance to the people without having a very effective public service. So what are our transformation project objectives? In line with the overarching aspirations of government and the systematic pillars, the Civil Service Transformation Enhancement Project is to build a modern public service where efficiency, productivity, and service delivery are the hallmarks. The clear objectives are as follows. One, we are creating a robust and efficient organizational structure. We are addressing people and capacity requirements. We're establishing and enhancing processes and systems for improved delivery and efficiency. We are strengthening service delivery capacity. We're enhancing availability and use of technology in the service. That's key to us. We are creating and sustaining a high performance culture, which was not there before. We are ensuring statutory compliance with relevant laws, which is also crucial. And then we are creating a workplace that inspires and motivates. Please go on. Civil service and public service reforms. Government recognizes the civil and public service as the, go on. Okay. Okay, the most important single institution affecting the lives of the citizens of the state. And then also the primary organ through which government engages with the people to deliver services. The third point, why is it not moving well? As a vehicle for implementing policies and programs to achieve the aspirations, and of course, like I said earlier, as the delivery engine of government. Oftentimes, people have connections or contact with government when they have contact with the public service. The first port of call for most people when they engage government is the public service. And so we are of the opinion that if the public service is strong enough, is effective enough, then the idea that people will even have of government in the first place would change unlike what it was in the past. So these are 4 major areas that we're looking at going forward. Okay, now we are actually doing a phased approach to transformation of the civil and public service. We've done phase 1. There were 2 pilot MDAs, the Ministry of Finance and the Office of the Accountant General, which formed this pilot phase. And so we looked at development and performance management framework. And then the second phase, which we have also done, 21 MDAs were involved in that. Here we looked at what we have done in phase 1, what the challenges that came out of phase 1, and then we tried to take care of them in phase 2. We are now in phase 3, and there are 71 MDAs involved in this. We're also working on a transition plan and then implementation of phase 2 initiatives as well as other transformational support programs. Please go on. Now we have a new operating model for the public service. What talents do MDAs require? We're looking at that very, very closely. And then how would the MDAs measure effectiveness, we're also looking at that closely. How the MDAs are organized to deliver on their roles, we're looking at that closely. How MDAs execute their work, we're looking at that closely. What are the expected values and behaviors? What enabling technology do the MDAs require? So it's a holistic approach to developing and transforming the MDAs. Now, we are having a shift from transactional to strategic roles for the MDAs. Initially, or before now, it was basically predominantly transactional. But now we're looking at a more strategic role that focuses on enhanced organizational performance. The strategic direction is very clearly stated here. We are hoping to align key activities and programs with the strategic direction and organizational needs of the government. We are going to be a high performance management culture that recognizes and retains high performance. You know, before now, we've had problems with retaining our best hands in the public service. A lot of our people come in and then go away because they are attracted, you know, by the private sector. But we intend to retain them by the transformation that we're doing, and then to also handle employee transactions and inquiries and leverage technology, which is the most important, to enhance vendors, suppliers, and budget management. Please go on. I'm just running through. Now, our focus is to reskill and retool the civil servants, and then adopt accelerated capacity building strategies that will produce highly knowledgeable, skilled, and talented civil servants in the various discipline areas of the service. We are re-engineering the civil service organization. We're improving organizational structure through process re-engineering. So that we can become a best-in-class civil service that provides fast, accurate, high-quality, proactive, and responsive services. Next slide, please. Our focus, that's a continuation, inclusiveness and ownership. The transformation exercise aspires for inclusiveness and encourages civil public servants to take more pride and ownership for results achieved. We're working with a consultant on this, but what we're doing is what, like we call in law, autonomy. We're building a system from within. And so we're not importing anything from outside. We're just trying to ensure that our people understand what we're doing and take ownership of it so that they can drive the process themselves and become owners of the process. We're embedding shared values and culture, developing a high-performance culture that encourages patriotism, moral values, ethos, and integrity. Thus, developing civil public servants that are highly resilient and uphold the principles of integrity and accountability. Before now, that has been lacking, and so we're intending to build on that very, very strongly. Initiatives implemented and or are ongoing. We're doing staff accounting and verification exercise. We've done that. We have established the 2021 MDA performance scorecard. And I think it's important I say something about this a bit. Before now, the attitude in the civil service and public service was that, well, like the saying, local balance, government work, and show that they put down, they don't put down for head. And so when it's too heavy, you just, put it by the side. But we are trying to ensure that what you earn as a civil servant, or what you get as a civil servant, you earn it. In other words, we're developing a performance scorecard. Before the beginning of every quarter, we'll sit down with civil servants and public servants, and we'll look at what you should achieve over the next quarter. We'll give you your KPIs. You develop them yourselves anyway. And at the end of the quarter, we'll come back to us. You'll come back to us, we'll sit down and look at what you have done over the last quarter, where you did well, where you could have done better. We'll point them out, and then together we'll chart the way forward. We are setting up and implementing a reward and recognition system that acknowledges excellent performance for individual staff, as well as departments. Before now, morale has been very poor in the public service. The government is building that up. So it's not just that, oh, when I'm promoted, when my mates are promoted who came into service with me, I'm also promoted. Performance is key now. And so when you perform very well, we also give you a reward or recognition. So we are building that system. We're developing it. We're developing minimum standards for Edo State government office buildings, covering technology, health, safety, security, and welfare requirements. And then we are implementing all of these in all buildings. I'm sure in the course of this presentation, you will see the way our public buildings look like now, what it used to be. I recall very well years ago when I was in the Ministry of Justice, you would have difficulties even having photocopiers. You go out to photocopy things, but now things have changed significantly. We'll give you an idea of what our buildings look like now and the facilities that we have in them. We are developing strategies to optimize the use of staff and service delivery. We are filling critical vacancies in the civil and public service. We're addressing staff structure. We'll talk about this a little more later. Then we have support development and implement annual business plans for MDAs to drive quarterly business performance reviews in Edo State government. We talked about that earlier. The other initiatives, we are adopting the competence management system and creating a database of competencies. We're implementing coaching and mentoring programs. We are developing strategies for managing mismatch of persons in positions. We are commencing career and succession planning. We're providing tools for organizational collaboration, communication, shared database, memory and knowledge management. We're doing culture survey and transformation. We're doing change management and communication, trying to win the hearts and minds of civil servants. Next slide. Okay, at the moment, massive recruitment of personnel is going on. The effort is to plug identified personnel gaps in the public service. And merit is the underlying consideration. Just some few days ago, some people came here to the office to interview me. And in a funny manner, they said to me, employment is going on. When are we going to have the different lists? And then they told me what happens in universities and the polytechnics where you have the VC list and you have the rector's list. They said, when are those other lists going to come out? And I told them that there's only one list, and that is the merit list. And that's what we're doing in Edo State. And that's the first time that that's happened in the state, where about 1,590 something people are being brought in into government service, into the public service, almost in one first role. And everyone is being brought in on merit. As a matter of fact, what we have done, which I've taken time to also explain to some people earlier today, is that it is entirely, completely merit-based. Mr. Governor told me at the start of the process, and I'd like to recount what it is cost to me because that's important. He said to me, HOS, I could have in my family close to about 1,000 people who are unemployed. Now we have a process that will bring in about 1,500 plus people into service. If I give 1,000 employments to my people, how many of those employments, how many of these spaces will be left for other people in Edo State to fill? And so as I speak to you, Mr. Governor has not given me a name, one name, not one, to be brought into service. So it's the process is entirely merit-based. In addition to the above, other far-reaching policies and strategies aimed at making Edo great again are being developed for implementation by the incoming cabinet. Go on. So what we're doing is that we are repositioning the public service, we are preparing the public service, and we're professionalizing it to serve the interests of the public. This public service must be citizen-centric. As I said earlier, we're bringing in 1,594 persons across all cadres to fill critical vacancies, and we're doing that over the next 3 months. A lot of questions have come in that regard, some of which I answered just earlier. You know, there are two areas we're bringing people in, this core civil service and then the public service. The core civil service has to do with the ministries. And then those other parts of the public service that do not have to do with the civil service, the agencies, the departments of government, and education and all those areas. We have about 916 that we're bringing in the public service, and then 678 in the civil service. That's about 1,594. Next slide. Let's run through. Like I said earlier, just one list, merit list. As the governor said, the survival of the public service is at stake. We cannot compromise on merit. I'll just quote him. He said, government succeeded in the First Republic because the public service was effective. That's a statement by Mr. Governor. And of course, he also made us know that the glorious years of the public service were the years between 1960 and 1975. And what happened during this time? The public service was quite effective. The civil servants and public servants did what they had to do. They showed courage to take decisions, even in the face of some controversies, but they were firm and they did what they had to do. And so government succeeded during that time because we had an effective public service. Now, there are difficult decisions to take, like the one I just mentioned to you. A lot of people, are interested in the appointment process. And when Mr. Governor has shown courage and leadership capacity to take those decisions, I take it there. Let me also just quickly mention that this process is bringing in about 64 first-class graduates of Edo State origin. And indeed, that's the first time that will be happening in Edo State, because we are building a service that we believe should accommodate the very best in the system. And so Mr. Governor has directed that those 64 persons be brought in, first-class graduates from the different universities in Nigeria, into the service of Edo State. Next slide. Okay, we're also trying to achieve a lean government. We're streamlining ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We're collapsing some into others. We're creating some new ministries and agencies. For instance, we're talking about creating the transportation ministry. Okay. The Edo State Diaspora Commission is also in the offing. Okay, let's just run through. Please go on. Okay, go on. Next slide, next slide. Next slide. Okay, just the one before the last one. Okay, training and retraining is something we're really very bothered about. Mr. Governor has established a first-class, world-class John Odigio Oyegun Public Service Academy. You'll see some pictures of that in the course of this presentation. It's the very best in this area. I've been talking with my colleagues, other heads of service in other states, and I can safely and firmly say that there's none like we have as the John Odigio Oyegun Public Service Academy in this part of the country. I say that with a sense of responsibility. Please go on, next slide. Next slide. Okay, justification for the reforms. I'll just try to be brief. Our people voted massively for this administration. And Mr. Governor has consistently said something, that government cannot afford to fail them. If you were here during the elections, you could see people who couldn't walk, who were practically carried on the backs of others just to go and vote for this government. And so government recognizes that the trust and the confidence that the people have invested in this administration are really very, very high. And so government cannot afford to fail them. That's one justification for the reforms that we're doing in the public service at the moment. And then government cannot afford to be run in a manner that excludes the people from the decisions of government. Government is about the people, like I said earlier, and not just the people in power. Next slide, please. Now, it's also important that the people for whom government exists must have more than a passing interest in governance and must have a buy-in into it and own it. And of course, the bureaucracy and the government must be run in such a transparent manner as to engender or attract the interest of the people. Next slide. Mr. Governor has also consistently said that there's need to build institutions and not individuals. Over time, we have built individuals and not institutions, and that's the problem we've had with governance. We've also had other areas of attention. The civil service have been a major focal point of the transition committee's attention in view of the fact that it's the foundation of fulcrum of government. But it has not been the only area of attention. Government has invested massively in power. Government has invested in security. Government has invested in infrastructure. Government has invested in education. I'm sure you know that's become public knowledge now that a lot of states are coming in, to take a cue from what we have done here, or from what Mr. Governor and his team have done here in education. In spite of the fact that at the moment the rains have set in, but government is continuing to work on roads, doing new roads and working on the old ones. And of course, I need to also mention COVID-19 response initiative of the state government have been widely acclaimed as one of the best run anti-COVID-19 initiatives in the country. The commission has interrogated all these issues, all these development efforts of government, and has offered useful recommendations by way of advisory notes on these areas. Next slide, please. And those in diaspora in focus. Like I said earlier, the purpose of our engagement is to talk with you, to have interactions with you, and to seek your input into developing a proper, effective governance framework. The intention is to obtain needed feedback from you to strengthen the governance structure. Next slide. Now, it's important, and this is the message that we want you to take away. There's a new way that government is running now, unlike what it used to be, where people came into government because of what they could get out of government. That is changing because Mr. Governor is changing all of that. We can no longer do, like he says, we cannot continue to do the same thing and expect things to be different. Stakeholder interest in governance must align with the interests of the people. Governance must be thoroughly service and citizen-centric. Promises made must be fulfilled. That's very crucial. Mr. Governor went through all the 192 wards of the state in the course of the electionary campaign. And in each of these wards, he made promises. And unlike what used to be the case when politicians made promises during an election, pre-election campaign, and left the promises where they made them, Mr. Governor made a compilation of each of these promises made in each of these wards. And why did he do that? He intends to fulfill them. And so he has said sacrifices must be, at demand of everyone in government and out of government. And those in diaspora must show interest in governance. That's the message we are giving you. Next slide. MEGA is achievable with the support and cooperation of those in the diaspora and indeed all stakeholders. The committee's assignment is to prepare the ground for effective takeoff of government. The commitment of our people in diaspora to the success of MEGA should be in supporting the ongoing reform process. With your commitment and that of the reform bureaucracy added to the passion and commitment of Mr. Governor and the Deputy Governor and the government of Edo State, we shall have resounding success in making Edo great again. Just before I hand over, I'd like to, I'd like to just bring up a slide. It's not part of this, but with your permission, we'll just go to that one. It's on investment. Just a minute. How you can invest in the public service. You can find it? I'm sorry, just a minute, please. Okay, this slide speaks to the investment opportunities that we have in the state public service. Just to also let us know, we have a public-private partnership agency in place, and that agency is working very, very hard to identify areas of collaboration between our people in diaspora, not just our people in diaspora, the private sector and government. But we know that because we're speaking to our people in diaspora and they're investment conscious, we think that it's important to present this slide. how can you invest in the public service? The government of Edo State, under the leadership of His Excellency Godwin Obaseki, is open to collaborations with the diaspora for the purpose of creating mutually beneficial partnerships, which will both enhance the pedigree of interested persons and also galvanize development in the state. We have said earlier that the public service is the fulcrum of government. Therefore, investment in the public service is investment not just in good and effective governance, but also a strategic investment into the development of the state. If you have an effective public service, you would have an effective government. And of course, government can therefore deliver to the people quality governance. So if you invest in the public service, you're actually investing in good governance. And that's the best investment. There are some areas that you may need to take a look at in the course of deciding whether to invest in the public service. Infrastructure. A lot is being done in the area of infrastructure at the moment by government. I talked about the John Odigio Training Institute or Training Center. Of course, the Secretariat now, our Secretariat is one of the best in this line. But a lot more infrastructure is coming on board. And I think that the diaspora, anyone in the diaspora can decide to take on some of these investment opportunities and either work with government or go all out to invest heavily in ensuring that the infrastructure in the public service is enhanced considerably. Intellectual property, human capital development. A lot is going on at the moment. Government is training and retraining its workforce for effectiveness. I talked about the John Odigio Oyegun Training Institute just now, and the technology there needs to be improved upon and is being improved upon, but the private sector can assist government to provide technology, the best technology, in that property. Yes, please go on. And then also help government to take some of its costs in terms of training and retraining of its personnel. I talked about this earlier, information communication technology, e-governance. How can you invest in that? There's a lot of investment opportunities. This is just a slide that is still being developed, and hopefully in the course of time, the diaspora will be informed. Thankfully, with what Mr. Governor is doing with the Diaspora Commission, which is coming on board, the collaboration will be a lot easier. We'll feed you with a lot of information as to how you can invest in the public service. Like I said earlier, investing in the public service is the best investment because it is investing in good governance. So once again, I want to thank you. I appreciate you for your time. God bless you. Thank you very, very much. We'll be willing to take some questions after Mr. Governor would have spoken. And then also Mr. Comrade Austin Osakwe, with your permission, we'll ask Comrade Austin Osakwe to come in to just speak a little and break some of these things down. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Yes, please. I want to thank the HOS for that very elaborate, opening. At this time, please, can we unmute Austin Osakwe to just add to this? But meanwhile, I want to quickly, as a way of a procedural observation, observe that we have His Excellency, the Governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, in the house. He's been in the house. And of course, I'm equally told that we have the Deputy Governor of Edo State, and that is talking of Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu right in the house. We recognize your presence and we are glad you are in with us. Please, can we unmute them while we expect Osakwe to take the floor right now? Please, Austin Osakwe.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank and welcome everyone who has joined us from around the world. Thank you so much. Thank you, Head of Service and Chairman Transition Committee. I have no slides, so I'm just going to speak for a few minutes because I realize that time is far gone, to dwell on a few other aspects of the Transition Committee work, which may not have been drilled into. The first is to mention that, yes, all of these reforms which are ongoing, are centered around attaining good governance and discharging more effective public service delivery. But we realize that this cannot be done without the ownership of the people, ownership by community. And I like to say that the diaspora is one major community that we desire would own this process of reforms across the state. If we say that the people should be at the center, we are simply saying that governance is a social contract between the people and government. I hope I'm coming across, please.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. So we're looking at the social contract between the government and the people. For this purpose in Edo State, the People's Democratic Party presented Mr. Godwin Obaseki for the office of governor. Like the HOS said, he went across 192 wards across the state, perhaps the first time that has been done. Now, the party and the governor made promises to the people while asking for their votes. So they were making an offer. People of Edo State, voting population, give me your votes, give us your votes as a political party, and we are going to do this and that and that. The people accepted that offer by going all out to vote for the candidate of the party and by implication, the party. After they had voted and the party has power in his hands, what does it do? The people will go a step further to furnish some level of consideration to deepen this contract. Government wishes to tar roads. Government wishes to build more health centers. Government wishes to build schools and train teachers. Government wishes to do this and that and that. However, where does the money come from? That's where the consideration is. We have a misconception in this part of the world, and it's been with us, especially in Nigeria here, that government has all the resources that it requires to serve the people by way of provision of infrastructure, by way of provision of security, welfare for the citizenry. But that bubble has been burst. We now know that the so-called money that government is said to have, it does not have it. And that's why things are not working. We have always relied on oil. We know what has happened to oil. Apart from the fact that oil is not an infinite resource, we also know that there's oil glut. The prices are crashing. How many countries are willing to buy oil from us anyway? So the reality is that government does not have all the resources to provide for the people. But in other societies, and I'm happy that the diasporans are here, in other societies, what happens is that everybody within the community puts a little of their resources into a common field by way of taxation, by way of levies. So part of the consideration that the people give for government to perform is that they pay their taxes. Far and beyond that, they obey the laws of the land. They report criminality, crime and criminality to the police. They help to protect public infrastructures in their area. They are willing to be partners with government in not only providing infrastructures, but ensuring that these infrastructures are maintained and protected. This is the way to go. That is what is done in our society. So part of the reform process has been to engage critical stakeholders to buy into these new realities, especially after COVID. We know now that we cannot continue to do things the old way. So the Transition Committee has listed several stakeholders to be engaged in deepening this message. We have met with the political class. That was crucial because this government is insisting, and that is the way to go, that we cannot play politics the way we have been playing it. Politics can no longer be that of godfatherism, where a few people decide what happens. The manner in which this government came to power is an eye-opener and should send a clear message that it must be people-centered. So we needed to get political stakeholders to buy into this agenda, that it is in their interest to work for the people rather than for a few people. That's the easiest way to win elections going forward. And it's also a fulfillment of the social contract which both the party and the people have entered into. We also have spoken to professionals. There are professionals in government, there are professionals out there. We met with all of them, their representatives, to seek their buy-in into governance by way of providing critical advice, by way of providing critical support, expert support to government. We are going to meet with the religious class because we believe that they have great influence over the people. We are meeting with the traditional institutions because they are the gatekeepers. We are meeting with youth, labor leaders, civil society. We are meeting with local government. Of course, we are meeting with the MDAs, the ministries, departments, and agencies, so that everybody can be on board. The key word is communal ownership, community ownership of the reform process and of governance as a whole. Let me quickly say that it is possible, and I'm sure that those in the diaspora may also have been inundated by questions about when the appointments will be made. That is the elephant in the room. Even those who don't talk about it are wondering about it. Let me just quickly say that reforms processes are gradualist and phased in conception and implementation. And every phase has to be experimented and validated. We have spent time doing this in an inclusive and participatory manner. This governor is not a Johnny Just Come. He has had the opportunity of knowing what is wrong with the system, what has been wrong in governance. Posterity will not forgive him if he allows it to continue the same way without making effort to fix all of the problems there as a way of going forward, not in error, but more progressively and result-oriented. So the several steps taken so far by government, including recruitment into the civil service, introduction of health insurance scheme, accelerated training and development for staff across all levels of the public service, staff development and optimization, civil service rules review, employee welfare review, and state government asset optimization are part of these processes. But it is validation, the process of fine-tuning and correcting for errors through pilot implementation, engagement with key civil service cadres, and going back to the drawing board that has taken the most time. All of this has, however, been at the level of administration and the civil service in consonance with the policy administration differentiation, which underlines all reforms. The approach, which is bottom-up, is to reposition and prepare the civil service to better serve policy, that is the political machinery. The process of reforms also insists on setting aside all political intrusions and interventions to enable the civil service regain confidence and claim ownership of the reforms. It is after this has been done satisfactorily that the next stage of engaging policy comes in. In the past, we had problems because the civil service was not prepared, that is not sufficiently professionalized and accountable to serve the political process. We believe we are now ready for the phase of engaging the political machinery, and this is where we are. In addition to the ongoing institutional reforms being undertaken by the Obaseki administration, other far-reaching policies and strategies aimed at making Edo State great again are being developed and implemented. They are reflected in the systematic pillars which the HOS has told you about. So essentially, what has been going on is to ensure that when politicians eventually are brought in, they have a civil service that is professionalized, that will be more useful than destructive. And we know that this has been a major problem in the past. So where we are and going forward is that politicians who are coming in as commissioners, as special advisors, and all other categories of political appointees will meet a ready public service. Just to mention, by way of conclusion, that we are hoping that just as the diaspora, now what happened in the last election, the role that the diaspora played, is an eye-opener. We now know that the diaspora is a major community of partnership with government as far as development is concerned. So this meeting today, first and foremost, is to brief you on where we have been, where we are going, and exactly what we will be requiring you to do by way of partnership with government. And what essentially is that? Number one is investment. The governor often says that what comes in from outside, from our diasporans into the state, is far greater than what we generate locally by way of revenue. So what that simply means is that a partnership to develop your state is crucial, and the role you are to play in this, it cannot be overemphasized. But far and beyond that is that government is no longer played only at home. As we are home, we realize that there is a larger component outside, and this synergy must be brought to bear. I like to appreciate the diasporans. Just between yesterday and today, I had engaged Loretta on an individual in the diaspora who has tried all this while to reach out to government on a very huge proposal, a way to come and do development here. And I felt referring her to Loretta will enable us proceed in a more coordinated fashion so that all of the diasporans are working as one entity in partnership with government. I'd like to thank you because you have shown very clearly over time your commitment to development in Edo State, and the influence that you have over others who are here is also an area that we want to leverage on. Once again, I'd like to thank our diasporan brothers and sisters for continuing to show interest and commitment to the development of our state. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Austin Osakwe, Mr. Austin Osakwe, for that. May God bless you. Thank you very much. At this stage, I want to bring on Mr. Moses to take us into the next stage of the program. Moses, please. Can we unmute him if he's in here?
Yes, thank you so much. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, Your Excellency, Deputy Governor, Head of Service, and others in the House, especially those in the diaspora who has this initiative of having this town hall meeting. I'd like to say that Edo is an extraordinary state, and His Excellency has recognized from the very beginning that Edo has a very glorious past, and that makes Edo an extraordinary state. And so he wants to do the extraordinary by knowing our history, where we are coming from, and how we can reclaim that history. And that just the slogan, making Edo great again. Great Edos at home in the diaspora. It is our singular honor to receive His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, to unfold to us how this is possible again, as he has already started. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, other senior government officials who are on the call, it is indeed my pleasure to be with all of our brothers and sisters from across the world and at home this evening. I want to thank immensely all of you who have, as usual, taken time out, spent your resources and energy and time to put this session together. We don't take it for granted. We truly appreciate it. And this is exactly the spirit that we have been canvassing. and you are truly living up to it, which is that do not always ask what the government can do for you or what the state can do for you. Perhaps you should now focus on what you can do for the state. And that is what some of you have started doing by putting your resources together and working in partnership with the state government to reach out to our brothers and sisters across the world and at home. This evening, I'm here to listen. You've heard a lot from the head of service, the head of the transition team, and our brother Austin Osakwe, who is also on the transition team. They have, in the last 30 or so minutes or more, tried to explain our purpose, what we have been doing in the last 6 months since we were inaugurated into office on November 12th. And I'm sure I cannot do it much better than they have, because they've been very lucid, they've been very clear, and they have touched on all the points, which can be summarized as follows: that I and my colleagues indicated interest to run for office. I came out to canvass and campaign, and I got overwhelming support from Edo people, and did promise that I was going to deliver the services they require, that I campaigned for or campaigned on. Now that they have given us the mandate, it is now important for us to show how we can deliver on the mandate and our promises. And we realized very early that we cannot deliver on these promises if we do not fix the engine of the vehicle that will take us to the destination, which is the civil service and the public service. And I want to thank the head of service and all the civil servants who have worked with us very diligently and assiduously over the last 6 months to rethink how we can deliver services to our people. It's been grueling, it's been very tedious, but I can assure you that what we're doing in Edo State is unrivaled in Nigeria today. And by the grace of God, the outputs, the outcomes of the hard work will begin to show very shortly. They have told you what we have done in terms of rethinking policy. What is the purpose of government? Should government be competing with its citizens, or should government be creating the environment, the enabling environment for its citizens to live life to their fullest? What should be the role of the people who are paid by government to provide these services? How do we monitor and coach them and train them to make sure that they deliver on these services to us? How do we reward them when they do deliver services? How does government raise money, required money, in the face of dwindling revenues from the national government to carry out these services? But underneath it all is, how do we even communicate and continue to build the trust of all our citizens in what we're doing so that we can continue to carry them along? While the presentations were going on, I was just browsing through the chat room to see comments from several of you. And I want to thank Bamidele Obaitan for that statement, where he referred us to the John Kennedy Jr. quote that ask not what the country or your nation can do for you. Tell what you can do for your state. I also saw comments, about expressing concerns about helping allay the fears of public servants as we undertake reform. That is being done. We're carrying them along as much as we can, but we always realize that we have a covenant with God and with the people of Edo State, and the people have priority. So whatever will be an obstacle in our quest to deliver for our people will be removed. There are several other questions that have been raised in the chat room, but let me not preempt them. But to just thank all of you. I mean, the participation this evening has been awesome. 328, people listening in as I speak. I mean, in these days of COVID, I can't imagine what all that will take all of you. It would not have been allowed. So thanks to technology. I want to thank you for, dialing in, and to say that we want to make this a very interactive session. And I will just crave your indulgence to stop now so that we have time to take on some of your concerns and questions and issues and contributions that can help us fine-tune and strengthen the work we've done as we move Edo forward. Once again, on behalf of the government of Edo State, I want to thank the organizers who have put this event together immensely, and say we really, really appreciate your efforts, and God will continue to bless your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you so very much. At this stage, I want to bring on Uncle Sonny Irabo to, of course, take us to the Q&A section, where he's going to read out the first three names who are going to ask their questions. Please be reminded that we have just 60 seconds to ask our questions. And of course, we do not want a pregnant question. Confine yourself to just one question. So we'll take the first three batch of questions, and of course, the governor is going to respond to the questions as they come. So Uncle Sonny Irabo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamte Oriahi. And Your Excellency, thank you very much. This is a very instructive. You have always laid the cards on the table, and we are very happy with your updates. So I'll just go straight to the questions. The first one is from Dr. Tony Agbons, and that will be followed by Mr. Lucky Omosigo of Obaland TV, and the third will be Esosa Ede Obarogie. So Dr. Tony Agbons, please, straight to the point, 1 minute, thank you.
Your Excellency, it is a known fact that internally generated revenue, IGRO, is vital to infrastructural development, more so with the dwindling federal allocation to states like you alluded to. So what are your strategies, sir, that you're putting in place, your administration is putting in place to show up our IGRO in Edo State?
Your Excellency, do you want to take that answer, or do I
Let me take all three. Can I take all three questions together?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The next one is Lucky Omosigo of Obaland TV. Go ahead, please. Lucky Omosigo, please. Okay, if I don't hear from you, I'll go to the next one. Lucky Omosigo, are you there? All right. Esosa Ede Obarogie, you're next.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Esosa Ede Obarogie. I would like to ask just this question. Mr. Excellency, how would you rate your handling of the pandemic as a state? And how has that impacted, how would you rate your handling of the pandemic as a state? And how has the economic impact affected your planned infrastructural development for Edo State? For example, power. Should we continue to expect your pre-pandemic promises to be fulfilled this tenor? If not, why, sir?
Okay, the next question comes from Osahon Amadasun. Osahon Amadasun, please go straight to the point. Osahon Amadasun. If he's not there, I'll go into the next person.
I'm here. Okay, I'm unmuted. Hello, everyone. Hi, good evening. My name is Osahon Madison, zooming in from Canterbury, United Kingdom. Question is about the security in the state. Just wanted to know what measures are being taken by the government to put in place extra security measures to ensure rural farmers are protected and other citizens as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip, or many men? Philip, or many men? Please, next, go ahead.
I think we already have a batch of 3 questions.
Yes, can I just go with these 3 and I'll take the next set?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Let me start with the issue of IGR, internally generated revenues. For us, this is very critical to our ability to perform as a government. The structure of the revenue streams to government today is about, I would say, just close to 70% of what we earn currently comes from federal receipts, crude oil sales, VAT, derivation, and so on. Only 30% comes from IGR. In the face of dwindling federal receipts, we now must increase what we generate locally. And so what we have done in the last couple of months, since January, is to rethink how we collect revenues. And we have set in place mechanisms to see how we can get more people into the tax nets. The issue today is that, many people, a lot of people are not paying anything. The tax burden is being borne today by mainly those who earn salaries in formal employments. So a high proportion of the IGR today is from pay as you earn. And the pay is mostly collected from civil servants, workers of big companies. We don't get much yet from, individuals, from direct assessments. We haven't, we haven't been able to raise revenues from property and people who have properties, and or people who are, earning revenue, income from several activities. So the new IGR strategy is first to undertake an enumeration, which we have done. We have completed an enumeration of about 6, highly populated local governments. And by enumeration, I mean that we have teams on ground. We created this project called Data for Mega. That is data to make Edo great again. And under this program, we have recruited, hundreds of young men and women, trained them, and and sent them out, and they've gone from door to door, street to street, community to community, to just get information on people, on properties, on business owners, what they are doing. We also use the opportunity to obtain data, socioeconomic data on unemployed people, on people who are disabled, the elderly. So the last several months, we have a huge bank of data on our people. For instance, I can tell you that in Oredo alone, where we divided into 20 zones, we have enumerated close to, 50,000 properties. We have enumerated almost 20,000 businesses and individuals. We know that there are about 3,200 widows in Oredo. We know that there are about 11,000 unemployed people. So we have that data, and we are going to drive revenues from that standpoint. The other thing we're doing is not to make taxes punitive. You want to, it's about inclusion. So we're breaking it down, making it very simple, have 3 categories. What the very small businesses pay, what medium businesses pay, and what large businesses pay. Ditto for property taxes. Right now, we're piloting with Oredo, we're sending out assessments, and we believe that with advocacy, with the support of all of you, just letting people know that it's your contributions, it's your payments that will keep government afloat. Once that is, we're able to do that, and we succeed in doing that, I believe that we'll move our IGR from about this month, it was 2.7 billion, and our target is to move it to about 5 billion. At that point, it will be about 50-50 ratio, in terms of what we earn locally relative to what we earn from Abuja. So the strategy for IGR is to gradually move to a position where we are not solely dependent on federal receipts for our existence as a state. We want to be like Lagos State, where the bulk of the revenues to develop the state comes from the people of the state. And Susa talked about how we rate ourselves in terms of how we handle the first and second waves of the pandemic. As a government, we don't want to blow our trumpets and talk about how great we are. We'll just tell you about what we have done and the successes we have achieved, showing the data. For the first and second waves of COVID-19, we put in place the mechanisms to first deal with the critical issue of slowing down the spread, ensuring that we communicated the dangers and the risks to our people, ensuring that we got our people to observe particularly the non-pharmaceutical protocols, but more importantly, testing. In Edo today, we have 4 PCR laboratories, testing. And I believe when you look at the testing capacity to population, we must be one of the top 5 in the country today. So we've undertaken, a huge amount of tests. I don't have the exact numbers now, but I can tell you that on the average, in terms of testing, we must be one of the top 6 states in Nigeria. The critical success factor for us in Edo has been governance. Every day at 9 o'clock, we have what we call a COVID call. And I dial in and the deputy governor dials in. The deputy governor, by the way, is the head of the technical committee on COVID response. And so we're on top of it. We know exactly what is going on, and the responses of our frontline health workers. And largely we were able to contain, the first wave. And by the grace of God, the second wave has not been as bad as we predicted. Yesterday, there was a press conference where we had to inform our people that we have to take extra measures against the third wave because of the evidence coming out of the epidemiological studies which we have undertaken. Because in our response, we have everybody coming in. We're lucky. We have 2 federal medical institutions, UBTH and Iro Specialist Hospital, which is a center for COVID and Lassa fever in Africa. We've pulled in private hospitals, we've pulled in our government hospitals. So in our response, we have not just done it as government alone. We've pulled in all the resources we have, and we have the advantage of having very internationally reputed scientists, epidemiologists who have designed a model, our COVID response model for us in the state. And from what they told us, that Edo State, particularly Oredo, has the highest mobility rate in the country. And if COVID moves it moves with people. So the more there's movement, the more there's the spread of COVID. And so we're very anxious. We're tracking the Indian Indian what's called virus, and to make sure that we catch it on time and limit its spread. How is it affecting my pre-pandemic promises? Well, when we think about it, I mean, we don't see it slowing us down seriously. We are utilizing technology a lot. You know, it may interest you to know that Edo State, particularly, you know, Oredo, Gobaka, Adiko, have almost 400 kilometers of fiber already linking these communities and homes. And so connectivity is quite good in Edo. And so using, you know, technology, you know, we believe that we can take advantage of the presence of technology. We're improving power supply through thermal power. And with this, we hope that we can continue to deliver, as government deliver on the services we promise to our people. Initially, phase one, some of our contractors had to shut down their sites. And, you know, some of them who had expatriate workers had to send back their expatriate workers. But, you know, that's gone by now. Phase two, they didn't have to do that. And our contractors are outside, work is progressing on most of our projects. So we don't see COVID significantly slowing us down so that we will not be able to achieve our pre-pandemic promises. Osama asked about security. You'll recall the last time we met, the issue was security. People were scared. There was, you know, report about insecurity across the state. I want to, and I did promise you then that we were doing things, we were working very hard, and that security was not an issue, response was not an issue we wanted to be discussing publicly. But you will agree with me that relative to the rest of the country, the security situation in Edo is not as bad. What we have done is to now get our people involved. We have, you know, allowed vigilante groups, streets, communities come together. They hire young men and women to help them, you know, in patrolling. We have recognized this security structure, which is part of the infrastructure architecture we've created. And we communicate with them regularly. They give us information. That information is, you know, uploaded into a central response system. And we have a response squad or response squads that now follow up on every reported case. You would have heard in the news last week how these forces working with federal security agents have dislodged a lot of kidnapper camps and gone out there to release kidnapped victims. A lot of work is still being done. We are recording significant successes. Yes, that doesn't mean that we've eliminated all forms of insecurity in the state. You know, it's a national problem, but in Edo, we're trying to curtail, you know, it as much as possible, particularly those very serious crimes. And the evidence is out there. The last month or so, you can ask for people around the state. The incidence of insecurity has been moderated compared to what it was about 3 months ago.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency. At this juncture, I want to quickly call on Loretta Oboroko to call the next batch of names to ask their questions. Loretta,
thank you very much, Your Excellency. Apologies to those who had their hands raised and their names called and they weren't unmuted on time. Furthermore, if your questions have been answered, could you please put down your Zoom hand so we can process those left? Or can you unmute Oberland TV, please? We have a representative whose hand has been up. And while he's been unmuted, can we recall Nosasi Confidence Amayo? You left a very angry comment in the chat. Apologies. Nobody's trying to exclude anybody here. And while he's getting ready, Philip Omehime. Philip, I can see you, so I will unmute you right away. Oberland TV, please go ahead.
Everybody, good evening. My Excellency, we greet you from Oberland TV and radio. for here, and I would speak the mind of our people. So this question, I mean, this one, My Excellency, because we, for this side, they hear different stories concerning security for Edo State. I will come and say a lot of organizations there, a lot of associations there, when they try to do things, and most of them too, they try to do what they don't do, they put this together. So they provide the instruments, so they gather money too. So what we hear from you today, the intake of this matter, if you are aware, and what you really you want to make these people be say, if they try their efforts, so let's say help our state. And this one be the question we get from Obala TV and radio.
Thank you very much. Philip or Mehime, you can unmute yourself and speak, please. Philip. Can we get Nosa Confidence, Amayo, if he's in the house? If he's not in the house, we move on straight. Go on, Philip. Go on.
Good evening. Standing on the existing protocol, my name is Philip Omenime. Please, my question is direct to the governor, Mr. Selesi. I want to know, because when with the activities and the presentation presented before now, and I find out that the presentation were just all were just one. So my question is this: in all this presentation, how long and when is it going to be commenced, and how can we see the effect? Because right now we are not seeing the effect in any of the states, and it looks as if we have just 2 local governments in Edo State. So why is it like that? Thank you, sir.
I can't see Nosa Confidence anymore. He's still here.
I'm here.
Oh, go
yeah,
on.
I'm here.
All right, go on.
Yeah, I have a just simple advice to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State. I think he said one thing that I really appreciated. I said, don't think about what your state or your country can do for you, but rather you think about what you can do for your country. And I think very well that a whole lot of us try to see what actually we can do for our state and what we can do for our country. His Excellency, I remember vividly very well when he was the chairman of the economic team, how some of us with my organization tried to see that we bring donor agencies to see how we can make agriculture work in Edo State. Because then we've always told everybody that we need to diversify from an oil-based economy to an agricultural-based economy. Because agriculture is a mainstream that could really change any state and make any state great. First of all, there will be surplus food for our people. There will be raw materials for the creation of small-scale industries. Unemployment will be reduced. There will be surplus job creation for people. The one thing I want to please appeal to the governor to do is, we tried, my organization in partnership with the Ministry of Agri, to see that we put an agricultural policy in place in Edo State. So I want to ask His Excellency, why is still there not an agricultural policy in Edo State? An effective agricultural policy will create surplus of job for our people.
Remember, you have 1 minute, sir. You do have 1 minute.
It will provide tractors for every local government area where we can produce surplus food. There will be job creations everywhere. I want to appeal to the governor to go back to the work we did from the Ministry of Agri in putting an effective agricultural policy in place. That's the only way we can make Edo State great again.
No, sir. Sorry, I may have to interject here. We said 60 seconds. Of course, that is long past, so we quickly need to go to the next question. Loretta, please.
Can we have Semi-Ario, please?
Oh, are we taking a batch of 3?
Oh, no, we have 3. We have 3.
Oh, Your Excellency, with all due respect, sir.
We have 3, sir.
Yes.
Okay, let me start with Overland TV and radio. My brother, thank you. I hear what you say. You talk about security. Say, what thing will they do about security and how people feel help? Because many people don't do now when they try their own. When they're outside Benin or outside the door, to see what they feel do on their own to help government for this security matter. We know say they try, they concern. So what thing we won't do, or what thing will they do? They say, you will not say, we get one thing when they call Security Trust Fund. When understand the architecture when we don't put together, when we go out to now interact, we'll now meet with different people to say, okay, this is not the type of thing we do for security. This is not how we want you to support us. Maybe the people, the police were in their road, we need to feed them every day. So if you bring food or ration to give them, this na the thing we won't do for vigilante, we won't buy uniform for them. This na the one we want, the different thing when we feed do. This na vehicle one we need for patrol. Or if you sell petrol, maybe if you give us petrol, maybe we take put for our motor to patrol motor for police and everyone. So the Security Trust Fund now we work on now with the revamp them, and very soon we'll go announce them, and they will tell you now how on feet contribute. I know so many people they anxious to do something, so we will give you now the structure and the way to contribute to support the effort when we make for security in the state. Philip, you talked about how all these presentations we have made tonight, how it relates to people outside across the state. Let me put it this way. One reason why for a long time we have been talking, and we seem not to see things happening is because you don't have a system, you don't have a structure. When you finish talking, then what next? So, okay, you talk about, our brother Nosa talked about agriculture and agricultural policy. So when we don't when you finish talking about agriculture here now, so what? Do you have people in the Ministry of Agric who are structured to respond to needs? Is there a plan? What is the role of government in agriculture? Is government's role to provide characterization? Is it policy? Thanks for the work you've done in policy. We have that in place. It's, that is what we've worked on the last 6 months. Who is in charge of what? We come to a ministry, Ministry A, Ministry of Agriculture. Why do you exist? What is your purpose? What is your mission? Okay, if you say your mission is to provide food security for our people, how are you going to do it? How are you structured? Where are the departments? Who is responsible for, driving policy? Tell me, so okay, you want to do grains for the state. Where is the person in charge of grains? What sort of training? What is his role? Is it the one to grow it, or is it going to support the farmers who are going to grow it? If he's going to support the farmers, then how is he going to do that? So we have to have clarity in how government responds. For now, people just talk, oh, government should do this, government is going to do that. How will it be done? Who is responsible? If it is not done, what do we do? That is what we are trying to get governments to do. Otherwise, we'll just spend another 5-10 years talking about the same issues, and there will be no outcomes, no inputs. Nobody is held responsible for anything. That is what we're trying to shift away from.
Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Of course, we'll now go to the next batch of questions. The first person I want to call on is Semi Erio. Can we unmute him, please? Semi Erio, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Standing on all existing protocol, I agree to Your Excellency. Mine is more of an observation rather than a question to say, I have been a fan and I've been a follower since day one. And aside some of few of us that are very in tune to the administration's accomplishment, there seems to be a challenge where looking or having to assess the projects, the stages they are in, very, very challenging. Therefore, is there at some point, either a ministry or using technology, where ordinary citizens of Edo State can just log in to say, okay, the bus terminal at Urban Market Road, I can easily just say, okay, it's 50% completion, or because it seems to be a gap, in communication between knowing what the government is doing, assessing it, and using that as a measuring bargain. So our appeal to the governor to maybe the Ministry of Information or thereabout to just have maybe a website or something for us to know what the government is doing, where they're doing, all the project that is going on. In that way, those of us who have confidence in, can use that as maybe a promotion to or a bragging right to say, I invested in this government and my government is coming through. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Semi Erio, and I think His Excellency has taken note of that. I will quickly call on Timothy Ihoha. Mr. Timothy.
Thank you very much, everyone. Standing on the existing protocol, I will want to ask this wonderful question. Please, my question centers on the area of flooding in the states, which has rendered so many persons homeless. So many of our fathers and mothers back home, they have been rendered homeless. So, Your Excellency, sir, what are we doing as regards flooding? Whenever it rains, we see the states, how it becomes. So what are we doing in making sure that this issue or this menace is being curtailed? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. The next person we're going to call on it's Engineer Bright Atoy. Please, can we unmute him? Bright Atoy.
Unmuted, he should unmute himself. Bright, you can go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Bright Atoy, residing in Abuja. Your Excellency, permit me to stand on existing protocols. My own question also borders on security because this can never be exhaustive considering what is happening in Nigeria right now. Commendably, 17 governors met some days ago the Southern governors, they met to, among other things, resolve that open grazing should be banned in this southern part of Nigeria, which is a very commendable one. But then again, the question is, what measures, what mechanism is the Edo State governor or government going to put in place to assure and ensure statewide compliance? Because take, for example, Abuja here where I reside, I know that there is a ban in open grazing, but at the end of the day, why compliance is felt in the major cities like the Meitama and the rest, if you go to a place like Apo, you still see the cows everywhere. So, and you know that this is what is actually causing the conflict in the hinterland. So what measures, what mechanism are you looking at putting in place, drawing inspiration from what is happening in other areas where this ban is already effective? Thank you very much.
Yes, His Excellency can actually take on the...
Okay, so thank you very much. These are very, very brilliant questions, and I want to appreciate you for them. Semi Ario, I'm really, really grateful for your observation. What this transition has done for us is it's given us time to think through all of these issues. And one of the reforms that we have come up with, which you're going to be seeing in the next few weeks, is the creation of what we call the Edo Communications Office, ECHO, where we will now be able to aggregate information from across the spine of what we're doing as a state. Part of the challenge of government in Nigeria is that government tends to operate in silos. Everybody wants to just do their own thing and spend money on their own without much collaboration. You think that, okay, if I let someone else know, then they might come into my budget or what have you. So we're working out a mechanism to create an agency where we would like a dumping ground for all information. So every agency, every office on a periodic basis, either daily or weekly, must dump information on the activities into a central portal. And from there, we'll then decide on how that's made available across the various media. That's a project that's what we're working very aggressively on because we understand the role of communication in today's world. Timothy talked about flooding. Well, you have to see flooding today within the context of climate change. Normally, typically, what we know is that the rainy season starts about the end of May or middle of June through till October. But for those of you who have, live in Benin or in Edo State or frequent Edo, you'll notice that the rainy season started since the beginning of April or the last week in March. And sometimes it's been very, very torrential. So it's an issue of climate change. We're seeing that things are changing from what they used to be. Secondly, a lot of water channels have been blocked because of indiscriminate construction, or just people throwing trash into drainage paths, into drains. Then there's also the issue of the flooding around river basins, particularly around the River Niger. So places like Anagbete, places like Ilushi get flooded when the River Niger, is opened up in places like the Cameroon or what have you, and then it overflows. Our response has been, first, in the urban areas, we are having what we call the urban plans and the regional plans. So we've hired the service of consultants to look at our cities, look at the designs of our major cities, and advise on building controls, on all we need to do to make sure that things like flooding, things like road constructions, things like the things that we channel water through its natural course is being done. And in cases where you've had the unfortunate incidents of flash floods and people are displaced, we have our state emergency response that goes there to help people, to provide them succor, to help them rebuild their lives. We've done that quite a lot in the last several years. We talked about security and the meeting of Southern governors, right? It's a major, major issue. Yes, we've seen that banditry has been associated with herding of cows, right? But we also have the challenge that we need our protein sufficiency, and many of us invest in the herding business and get some of these northern folks to help us herd our cattle. What we are saying, or what we said in that meeting, is that we don't want to see you patrolling with cattle, right? If you want to do cattle business or herding business, then do it within a location. The challenge has been, and I've said it from day one, herding is a business like poultry or piggery or any other business. If you want to herd cattle, create an area, grow the feedstock, grow the grasses, and restrict the cattle into that area and let them feed there and fatten, and then you go and take them to the slaughter. The challenge has been people, when you say let people graze in a particular area or ranch in a particular area, people say, no, not on my land. I'm saying, okay, but when they come today into those communities, people collect money from them and ask them to go and graze, but they don't tell them where they should go and graze. So they graze into other people's farms. And then when those people confront them, they say, we have paid already to somebody, so why are you confronting us? So I think the way we want to implement in Edo is, look, go to communities and say, look, when these people come today, they give you money. You take money from them and you allow them graze in your area. Let us now designate special areas. If you want government to support you to put boreholes, water, and give you more seeds to grow more grass so that you can charge more for them, we're prepared to do it. And look, so let us look at this business, at herding cattle as a business. And let's stop this sensationalism and emotions, and so that we can deal with the issue of banditry as distinct and separate from that of the business of herding cattle. I don't know if I've made my point, but the ultimate solution is for those people today who accept that people should herd cattle in their communities to provide designated areas for that to happen, so that people are not moving or traversing cattle across the state. So if you want to, you go to wherever you are, buy your little things, transport them, restrict them to an area, and feed them in that area until they're ready to be slaughtered.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. That's a good one. Yes, it's now time to call on Uncle Sonny Rabo to call the next batch of names to ask their questions. Uncle Sonny, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next person is Dr. Osayeme Okungbowa. Please go ahead, Dr. Osayeme Okungbowa.
Thank you very much. I hope you people can hear me.
Yes.
I'm speaking from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency, I, as one who grew up in the days of sporting activities and excellence in Bendel State, where a variety of sports brought many youth to gainful employment and fame, what is the state government doing to aggressively harness the massive sporting potentials of our youth using school sports, and how the state going about revitalizing school sports? If you see, Bendel and Delta, Edo and Delta are twin brothers. The legacy led by the Obemudia administration in the 60s, Delta is retaining it, and they are still dominating. But Edo have been left behind. How does the state intend to aggressively pursue school sports from secondary to tertiary? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person is Lydia Ling. Lydia Ling. Go ahead, please. Is Lydia there? Lydia Ling? Unmute her,
Lydia, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Your Excellency, the Edo State Governor, I stand on the existing protocols. Yeah, my name is Lydia. I live in the United Kingdom. I am a psychologist and I'm involved with a team of professional experts. The team is available to offer our expertise in setting up an international multidisciplinary special needs center that will cater for children and adults with special educational needs and disabilities. It's aimed to be an establishment that can also be used as a vocational center for adults with special needs and as a training center for training teachers to work with special needs children. It will also be built to international standards that could benefit from international collaboration and grants. So my question is, how can the Edo State government enable this project to progress?
Thank you. Next person, Joe Ehigiamusoy. Joe Ehigiamusoy, please go ahead. Unmute Joe Ehigiamusoy, please.
Yamusai should be able to unmute himself.
Exactly. I mean, he should be able to.
He's been unmuted.
Okay.
We should try again, yeah.
Thank you very much. Standing on existing protocols, Your Excellency, sir. I just want to dovetail the deliberation on the diversification of internally generated revenue and look at it from the perspective of arts. Edo State unarguably is known as a home of culture in Nigeria. And all over the world, we know that our artifacts have made huge landmarks across countries and museums around the world. And people have been agitating for the returns of our artifacts over the years. And I can say that, of a fact, it's gaining momentum and some results have been achieved along those lines. And one of the reasons that those who plundered our museum and palace and carted away over 3,000 pieces of our artifacts back in 1897, the British, they are concerned as to where, if these items were to be returned or repatriated back home, where would they be stored? Would they be well taken care of? I remember back in, I think, 2007, one piece of our artifacts was being auctioned for by Sotheby Theatre for about £4.5 million. That's to tell you that our artifacts have monetary value to them. And now they can also be used as cultural exchanges. There has also been much said about having an ultra-modern museum built in Benin as a place where these artifacts, as they are returned, can be kept safely. I just want to ask, where are we, sir, on your drive to have an ultra-modern museum built in Benin City, as many people have been asking over time? Thank you very much.
I think we have a total of 3 questions, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, and thank you. I'm sure the Deputy Governor is on the call, and I'd like him to answer the question on sports by Osayame Okungbowa. Is the Deputy Governor called? Can you please unmute him to do so? But while we are waiting to get him on, let me just talk about the issues of raised by Lydia on special needs and Gemasoy on arts and culture. We are very interested in the vulnerable, the most vulnerable in our society. A question of special needs, particularly children with special needs. Unfortunately, as a government, we have not been that well organized and organized our centers to provide support for these categories of people. So while we are getting ourselves together, reorganizing the Ministry of Social Development to be able to provide some of these services, we also believe that part of our strategy should be to collaborate with specialists, people who have interests and already doing so. And I want to inform Lydia that just last month, I had the privilege of going to a facility that has been sponsored by an individual who was a special needs teacher and specialist trained in Florida. And she's been working on a project for a few years now in Benin. And when I went in there, appreciation of the work she's done, as a government, we just made a commitment to support her to expand the facility and also support the running of that facility. Like say, from the enumeration we have done, certain things have come out. We've seen that we have a lot more people with special needs than is officially spoken about. People hide their, loved ones, children, members of family who have special needs at home. They don't want to talk about them. And, you can imagine the conditions under which they live. So now we've done enumerations, we have more data. I can tell you the number of disabled persons in a particular local government. With that data, we can make it available to those of you who have interest in this area and see how we can collaborate and work with you in terms of care for these people. Not only people with special needs, we're also concerned about the elderly, because we will all go old one day. All of you are, we have so many of you abroad. Who takes care of the elderly we've left at home? They are lonely. Who checks whether they have eaten? We're fortunately also compiling data on them. We know where they live. And so for people who want to assist and support, we should be able to collaborate with you to, put in your own reader's mind and see how we can support these categories of vulnerable people. Joe asked a very, 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 very pertinent question on the issue of the return of our artifacts and where we are. Permit me to be a bit more detailed on this because it's very current, and I'm sure you guys have seen certain things and items in the news recently. The question of return of these works of artifacts have been on for a while, as you know. And a body got together many years ago, about more than 10 years ago. They call them the Benin Dialogue Group, made up of major curators of museums in Europe and representatives of the royal family. We then, when I assumed office in 2016, given the importance of this subject, I then asked that the Edo State government should be a member of that dialogue group. And we joined the dialogue group and we began to participate in their meetings. In 2017, we were invited to Leiden in the Netherlands to a session of this dialogue group. And at that session, it became clear, like Joe said, that the issues were, the issues that were raised by the curators and people who were holding these works, were as follows. First, if we are going to return these works, who do we return them to? When these works left Nigeria, there was no country called Nigeria. So if we're returning them today, where do we return them to and who do we return them to? Second, these works are in museums today, being enjoyed by the world public. They're in very good condition. Some of them are very old and fragile, and they're being kept in special conditions. If we send them back to you, what is the guarantee that you will keep them in this same condition? And thirdly, where will you host them? So I then told them in Leiden that first, we will create a system or structure to, don't worry about who wants to, where you return them to. There's a country called Nigeria, there are laws in Nigeria, and we will create a trust encompassing the interest of the federal government through the National Museum of Monuments, the Edo State government, and the royal family. And that trust will now be responsible for negotiating, and all the agreements and what you need to do to bring these works back home. I then invited them to Benin. I said, okay, look, you can't be discussing the matters of our artworks outside in Europe. Come to Benin. So in 2018, we hosted them in Benin City. And we said, look, we will construct, the state government will put money together and raise money from the international community to build a world-class museum. We want you, these curators, will also partner with us in that museum so you can see what we're doing. It will wear the same standard as you have in Europe. We will be able to raise the money together. And we agreed. Unfortunately, COVID came in 2019, it was slowed down, but this whole issue of Black Lives Matter then brought up the issues of these works again. And the German government has been quite aggressive about it. We're working with the federal government, and with the state is working with the federal government to move these conversations forward. We are hoping that before the end of this year, we will be able to raise some money and create a storage facility in Benin where these works can be stored, pending when we finalize raising the funding to build a world-class museum. We've actually launched the museum project. It's called EMOA, the Edo Museum of West African Arts. This is going to be a complex made up of, a storage facility. It's made up of research, and research and ethnographic studies on Benin history. The British Museum is collaborating with us to do a bit more archaeological finds. The museum will also incorporate, preserving sections of a moat so that when people come in to review the artifacts in this museum, they can also do moat walks. We want to restore some of the gates, along the moat trail. A lot of work has been done. A lot of resources have been put in. Unfortunately, we have, there are some issues we're trying to clear up. But I'm in Abuja next week. The Germans are coming. We're having these conversations. It is one legacy I would like to leave for Edo people before I leave as governor. That these works belong to us as a people. They must come to Edo. They must be resident there and made available for the world to view. So be rest assured, it's a project we're very, very interested in. It's a project that the world is looking at and the world is very excited in. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, by the grace of God, it will be a project that will come to fruition and reality. Is the Deputy Governor on?
Thank you, Excellency.
Yes, Mr. Governor.
So please talk about sports. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Governor. I want to join Mr. Governor to thank the organizer of this program and also to thank all of us that have logged in. Answering the question, the question is in two phases. One is what we are doing in sport is in two phases. First, the physical infrastructure, and the other one, the legal framework. Because without the legal framework, obviously, when a government comes that does not love sports, we might return to where we took Edo from in terms of sport. I'm sure we all saw and heard about the National Sports Festival and the facility that we displayed during the festival. That is just in Edo South. The rebuilding of Samuel Ogbumina Stadium and other facility within Edo South. But beyond that, we also built facilities across the 18 local government. We have 20 mini stadiums, and those mini stadiums, some of them have track, some of them have multi-courts that will house long tennis, long tennis, basketball, squash, and some of those court games. And these facilities are all in schools. Why in school? Just for us to rediscover our talent and return Edo to the home of sport that it was during Samuel Ogbumina era. These mini stadiums are in schools. We are combining education and sports. And we are bringing back the academicals, we are bringing back the principal corps, the governor's corps, and all those talent discovery games. And government-owned business is just to create this facility. And in creating this facility, the private sector will drive them. Because when we introduce the principal's corps, when we bring back the governor's corps, the private sector are being invited to drive that process. The last first festival, Edo came second. The athletes that were used in the National Sports Festival were all Edo indigenous, raw talent from Edo. Most of these talents were in the Abuja Sport Festival, where Edo came third with 47 gold medals. At the just concluded Sport Festival, the same athletes, we groomed them and got some. We got 130 gold medals from 47 gold medals we got in Abuja 3 years ago. Unlike other states that just purchase already made talent, invite international athletes, no international athletes were in the last sport festival, showing that our discovery, talent hunt discovery has actually commenced and started. And it started 2 years ago when we went to Abuja National Sports Festival, where we got the hosting right. Mr. Governor's vision for sport in Edo is that we should return, just like the person that asked the question said, Edo used to be the home of sport, Edo Delta. Actually, it is Benin. Benin used to be home of sport. But unfortunately, government had been on recess for a long time until this administration came and we brought sports back. So what we've done beyond facility is to revamp other sports, and the bill for the Edo Sport Commission is actually being fine-tuned, because most of this vision and programs that we are setting up, we have to follow it with legal documents and laws, so that at the end of the day, this is not just for Godwin Obaseki administration alone, but we are actually planning a government that will outlive this administration, because don't forget that we have a 30 years program, development program for Edo, and everything we are doing to make Edo State great again is in that document. So all aspects of our administration, all activities beyond our administration is a plan for 30 years. So that at the end of the day, taxpayers' money will not be wasted just like it was wasted in the past. So for sports, we are back with the National Sports Festival that we just hosted under a very difficult circumstances under a pandemic. It will tell you that Edo is back as far as sport is concerned. And we are doing everything possible beyond infrastructure to set a legal framework that will not reverse the milestones that we've gotten so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Honorable Philip Shaibu. Thank you very much. Just to add that we do have chats in the house, and to crave the indulgence of all the people present here, that we're going to take the chats after this next batch of questions, please. And if I please also crave the indulgence of the two excellencies and the HOS in the house, could we please take 4 in a row now, please? Just because of time. And if I quickly call on Evangelist Gladys Ogbeide.
We can actually take 5 in a row.
5 in a row. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. So if I quickly call on Evangelist Gladys Ogbeide to come to the floor while the representative, we have a lot of media houses today, representative of GBKM, Great Benin Kingdom Incorporated Media, gets unmuted, and Anthony Ajibola Omori, you have been so patient. Your hand has been up, as well as Sunday Amayo, get ready to get unmuted, and Ihuare Peggy, please get ready to get unmuted. Evangelist, please.
Good evening, all, and starting on all existing protocols. My question is regarding the Fulanis and all the Amajiri young or children in Benin City. Recently, I visited Benin. What I saw was really appalling. We went for our ministry outreach, and under the educational reform, I want to ask my Honorable Governor, what is in place to take these children back to class instead of being on the streets as beggars? Because Edo was once known for education. So it amazes me to see children of 7 years, 6 years, even less than that, be on the high street begging for money when they should be in the classroom. My question is, are there no rules or are there no rules that that charges parents if their children are not in school? So these are my questions. What are the strategy put in place for these children to be in class instead of being on the streets as beggars? God bless you.
Thank you very much, Evangelist. Have we unmuted Antonia Jibola Omori?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, good evening to the House and good evening, Mr. Governor. Thanks for this opportunity. I want to stay on the existing protocol. So my question is regarding more or less the sustainability of this transition, which is really fundamental and necessary. So how do we ensure that in future, the subsequent governor will be able to cover this transition period within a window of the election declaration and the swearing in, so that it doesn't extend too long like it is now? We understand why it took this so long. Are we going to make a template that subsequent governor will follow, so that we have something similar to what we have in the Western world, that the government comes in and there is being formed within a very short space of time? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sunday Amayo, are you ready to take your question, please? Sunday Amayo, I can see you. Unmute, please.
Of Sunday. Good evening, my leader, my excellency, Governor Obaseki. Please, it's not really a question I want to ask. I just want to make my contribution. Why? Because in your previous meeting, you said, what can we do for Edo State? That is more important. So my suggestion, my talk goes like this. Now that we are in government, we know that now to 3 years time, or before you left or you leave office, is not up to 4 years. What is and we also know that in all those things we are saying, my brothers and sisters are saying, all of them based on security. Without security, we cannot do anything. And I see where you are working towards when you talk about technology is whenever you talk about technology, I'm so happy. Why? Because we know with technology, we can solve problems. We can reduce corruption. We cannot stop corruption, but we can reduce it. And in addition to it, if Edo State, people in Edo State, both the citizens and the people that are like Igbo, Hausa, and all that, if we can have our own documents to show so that our name will be in register, because if we can see now, is the people in the government that is showing, paying tax and all that. Because paying our tax, if you are not working or if you are not a government worker, that you are doing something, our tax can still contribute to the sources of the land. So that is my own opinion, and if you can still talk about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we can have I'm not saying this name well, Ohihuari Peggy. Have you been unmuted, ma? And while she's about to speak, can we get the representative of Great Benin Kingdom Media Incorporated? She was here. I can't see her. Peggy.
Okay. Yeah, Ms. Ohihuari is here. She's unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah,
good evening, Your Excellency, and good people of Edo State, inside and outside Nigeria. Good evening to you all. First of all, I want to say a very big thank you and appreciate His Excellency for the good work he's doing concerning the environment, sanitation especially, and again, maintenance of the road recently. I want to say thank you, sir. God bless you. God continue to strengthen you for your big heart towards your country, and especially Edo State. My own is just like a suggestion. Recently, just before now, we have around the King Square, we have disposable waste around the basket around the King Square. But for some time now, there's no more any waste basket around the King Square. So I want the waste manager to take note of that, to bring back that what they started, because people go around, because I have passion concerning environment. I love the way the government is going about it. So I want the waste manager to bring that what he has started before. We also have along Airport Road, we have some along Airport Road too, but now there are no more. And I wanted to bring back that what he has started. And if we can enforce task force that can be going around, because when I was growing up, when I was growing up, I saw sanitation people, they usually come to people's house to check their environment, check their toilets. But for some time now, there's nothing like that. So if we can go back to that system, because if you go some homes.
Auntie Becky, please,
yes,
can you just round off 60 minutes?
Okay, so please, that is just all I want.
Thank you very much, Auntie Peggy. Can we have the representative of Great Benin Kingdom Media, please?
Yourself, please. You're muted. GBKM, go ahead.
I tried, huh?
No, GBKM I'm talking about, to unmute himself. Kenny, can you please unmute yourself?
I just want to commend the audience of about over 300 people for being very, very civil, very, very comported. I'm really, really proud to be an Edo woman. Thank you.
GBKM, can you please unmute yourself?
If we are not able to get GBKM,
he's on.
Okay, excellent.
I'm just asking him to unmute. Probably just left off his desk, maybe. Okay. Maybe we'll call the next person.
Rui Igehon. If Rui Geha is not able to speak to us, can we have Dominic Ariata, please? And then we can go on to the chats with Isoken Ibie after these people have all had the responses.
Dominic, please unmute yourself.
For the HOS on the chats as well. Dominic Ariata.
Dominic, just click once, not twice. Unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, standing on the existing protocol, Your Excellency, sir, I just want to thank you for your consistency, for all you have been doing to ensure that after the election, you were able to unite all Edo state indigents. That's what matters most. We understand that there are other things that you are trying to resolve in-house, which we know in no distant time will be put to bear. We all know that the head that is alive is the only head that we can kill alive. What do I mean by that? It's about issue of security, security, security. In all this we are talking about, it's about security, because when we are okay, all these things we've outlined will be able to flow easily. And you have demonstrated that not quite long, and so many times you've been doing that. We know you were one of the persons who acted as a backbone to ensure that this meeting that hold last time between all the governors do hold. And we say thank you to that. And because of you being present in the Osadobe now, we are able to know that almost about 33,417 people are in the public service, which we have never had before. Nobody has gotten such awareness. We're able to know that you were able to travel across 192 wards, which is already forming a precedent that every other person will consolidate upon whenever they come in. So taking it back in terms of security, we understand that there are things that need to be done, which you are already addressing. If you look at what happened about 2 days ago, where somebody like Barrister Falano did allude to the fact that as a governor, as a city governor, you have the inalienable right to provide the security and arm the people. And that has been seen in the case of Ngige sometime during Obasanjo regime. So I therefore urge you, or what are you doing? My question goes like this: what are you doing to ensure that you liaise with the government to see how they can give you license for about 10,000 people to enable Edo people, do what is needful? Thank you, sir. May God bless you, and may God bless Edo State.
Thank you, sir. We have our 5 questions, sir. Following this, we'll move on to the chat because the HOS has a significant number of questions on daring. So, Karimbia, please get ready.
Thank you very much for those questions, and thank you, Loretta. Is it possible, Loretta, for us to have a printout of all the issues raised in the chat room, since you're having a recording, so that we can follow up on the issues raised? For Evangelist Peggy, you talked about street children. I'll be honest and confess that it's been a big problem, because
Evangelist Ogbaide, sir.
Peggy Ogbaide. You wake up some mornings and you just see these children on the streets. Apparently somebody has just come in and dumped them and left them, right? Or their parents are somewhere hiding and you don't know. You want to take them to arrest them and take them to school, and they run away, right? It's been an issue. The Ministry of Social Development has been working very hard on it. The SUBEB, the State Universal Basic Education Board, have also been working on it. They're not, it's not that we don't want to get these children to school. It's like their parents would rather have them beg. And so what we're doing is to try and enforce the ban on street begging by these children. But there's something cultural about it that it's a challenge which we're working on. That's one thing I'll say, we need help in this area. Anthony talked about sustainability. For us, we rationalized it. We believe that what we're doing now is what will make mega sustainable. That is to get a lot of ownership. Make sure that you're not waiting on individuals. You're not waiting for another Obaseki or Philip Schreiber to come in to move Edo forward. You have institutions. You have people who are accountable, and there are checks on them. That's what we've been trying to do with this whole reform of the service, the reform of government systems and processes. Because that ties into Sunday Amayo's question of technology. How do you ensure there's a lot of more transparency in government so that you don't have to wait for me to come and do a presentation for you to know the number of people in the civil service, for you to know the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Urban Planning, for you to know that there is a project in to plan the Greater Benin City, or have a regional plan for Edo, or to check on where your CFO application is in government. When we are able to put in place the systems, then what we're doing is likely to be sustainable, because people will see it. And when things are not going the way they expect, they'll scream, they'll shout. And when we're talking about ending godfatherism, that's what we meant. Because before now, it's who you know, who has access to power that determines what happens. But with what you have done for us by voting us in, we've essentially ended that whole thing about godfatherism. You don't have to have a godfather to be able to get a job in the civil service. The fact that you have a godfather does not mean that if you don't do your work, you will not be sent out. Nobody is going to come and beg for you, or it will not be entertained because you are in one society or the other. Therefore, you can get away with, once we put in place systems, when we put in place procedures, once we are able to define structures, once we have technology, then we believe that what we have started can be sustained. And you don't have to spend 6 months before you have a transition from one government to the other, because it will be done in a few weeks during the transition period. Peggy talked about waste management. Yes, it's an area we're working very hard on. We're restructuring the whole waste collection process. First, right now, the issue of waste is with the local governments. And you will agree with me that the local governments are not as strong as they should be. They don't have the structures, they don't have adequate funding, and so they're not able to carry out this role as they should. But one of the things we're doing is to work with them, to strengthen them, to get the system to be sustainable, to make sure that we invest in dump sites, in waste separation facilities, and then monitor the waste managers so that once they move waste from their homes, they move them into a transfer center or a sorting center. All over the world today, waste can be wealth. So at that point, it can be sorted and then sent into the dump site, as the case may be. Part of the revenue collection, new revenue collection system is one that will also help us identify so that households can pay for their waste evacuation or waste collection. Thank you very much, Dominic, for your question on security. Yes, part of the security architecture we have put in place, like I said, is to leave security in the hands of the people. Security, like politics, is local. Nobody from the outside can, nobody. You can secure you are best suited to secure yourselves. It is, that we've seen from the experience, waiting for Abuja to come and secure you is not tenable anymore. However, we need to collaborate with them. So what we've done is to see how we can collaborate with the federal agencies. You will have read from the news, I went to the police training school in Ogeda last week, and to see how we can invest in the training facilities, in the obstacles there, and use that facility to train some of our own local vigilantes. So even eventually we have to get armed them, then they would have received formal training on how to handle weapons. You know, it's dangerous to just go and just give weapons to people indiscriminately without monitoring and also training them to be able to use these weapons. I believe I've answered all 5 questions.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's okay, Ibia, you do have some number of chats that are very significant for the HOS to respond to. Do you want to read them out now, please? And just to kick off the chat while Isoken gets ready, I have a question here from Esosa in Canada saying, should we be worried? There seems to be a lot of ramblings within the state PDP. Are Edo State people safe? And there is another question here from Stanley Warrior in America, where he says that there is an increase in the indiscriminate selling of lands in Edo State by Edo youths to more than one owner. And this is negating the development of our state. Is there anything being done about this? Isoka, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Okay. So I have, this is more of a contribution. Am I echoing?
So could you put off your second device?
Exactly.
Okay. 1 minute. Okay, I'll have to. Okay. Is it better now?
Go ahead.
Much better.
Okay, great. This is more of a contribution from Honorable Friday Itula, saying recruitment into the civil service should not be exclusively based on merit. That will exclude very many people who can also contribute in other ways towards a viral service. And then another one from Johnny Akbitanyi from Canada. Thank you, Barrister Okungbowa, for the wonderful presentation. I understand that we're planning to do a lot of process re-engineering and environment and improvement work. How do we ensure the current employees are being put into consideration without fear of losing their job? I know for sure, based on my personal experience, that once we start talking about re-engineering, it creates fear, conflicts among stakeholders. How do we eradicate such fears? Remember, people are afraid due to lack of information, limited knowledge, miscommunication, power struggle, etc. How do Edo government plan to carry everyone along without denting the image of the government of the day, creating fear in our motherland? And this is from Edo's Igi. Honorable HOS, please take my take on lean civil service is to be able to build a robust service that can deliver quality service anytime, any day, anytime. However is doing this, let's try to make sure that workers are not laid off. A lot of people seem to be very concerned about that. I want to comment on the way the government has tackled security issues in the state. However, more can be done to give the vigilante more support, orientation, new technology, and now help fight crime. Thanks for the vehicle you gave them recently, hashtag at the governor. So he's actually addressing that to the governor. I think I've already had 3 or 4. Should I still go ahead?
Okay, can we take some more, please?
Okay, and then we just have one from our brother Wafiokun Omorega also. I'm so sorry if I did do damage to your name. I'm ready to offer my contribution to tourism development in the state. I'm not seeking for a political appointment. I'm currently employed at as the general manager, research planning and projects by the Cross River State Tourism Bureau, Calabar. I'm happy here, thanks. And one more, I think there's one more question. Is the governor intending to upgrade the local airports to the international airports to sustain the key driver of foreign access and enabler of development? And that is from Rahim Diresu. Oh, and one more. It's beautiful to dream a big dream and project big for his people, but how would the state government sustain the 2050 mega with continuity?
Thank you very much, Isoken. There is one more here. Can we hear me, please?
Loud and clear.
Yes, there is one here. Nosa Robert is asking, can this present state government create for all children, both youth, elders? I think he's referring to the vulnerable, Edo Dream. I think that has been answered. Mr. Osaenha Endurance, who resides in East London, South Africa, says, most children born with hearing loss in Edo State end up in special schools due to lack of early intervention and rehabilitation in the state. Are there plans in place for this? I think this has also been taken before. So if we let these run, thank you very much, Your Excellencies.
Okay. The head of service will answer the chat questions, and I'll take the last two, the two relating to me.
All right.
Well, on the comment by Honorable Friday Itula on the issue of not making the recruitment process completely merit-based, for me and for government, what we have decided to do is to ensure that the process is merit-based. For us, it is the best thing to do. If we begin to look beyond merit, we're going to bring in so many people who really do not deserve to be here. That's unfortunately how it was done in the past. I see quite a few of our workers today who are not able to do ordinary memos. And that's quite saddening, So, but if we had resorted to merit all along, I'm sure this kind of issue would not have arisen at all. So government has decided that it's going to be merit, and that is going to be what would happen. In fact, just to let you know that what we're doing at the moment is that if we have 10 spaces available for the civil service jobs, for instance, if we have 10 spaces available, the industry practice is after the testing has been done, which is the testing itself is completely, you see it from the word go. When you do your CV test, when the result that you get, you are told immediately how much you scored. So you're able to see how well you performed. But going to the interview stage, what we do, there are 10 spaces available. The industry practice is that we invite 30, and so we place the candidates in their order from the first to the last. And then when we get to the 30th person, we rule that place, and then we determine the cutoff point with the 30th person. So that's the way it is going to be. And it is and it's going to remain merit-based completely. There are concerns about laying off workers. The government gave assurance from word-go that we will not lay off workers. As a matter of fact, you can see that we're actually bringing in a lot more, 1,500 or something, especially our first one. That's a lot. And in fact, that's not what happened with the state. First time it's happening. What that means is that there are many critical vacancies that need to be filled. And we're bringing in this person to fill those vacancies. However, the way we are going with the development of scorecards, it's easy for you to know whether you're doing well or you're not doing well. And I think that some people may have to, on their own, exit the system when they find that they cannot cope. Because technology is going to be involved, and the governor has said that he will be the last government in Edo State to treat memos by memos that are not by manual means. It's going to be electronic. And so if you cannot afford, if you cannot, fit in, you may have to, on your own, exit the system. But Mr. Gowa has given his assurances that he will not sack anybody, and that's the way we are proceeding. I think, I don't think there are other questions that I left out. Those are the two that I can immediately remember. Forgive me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Head of Service. Just like we said, we will provide as much support and training to people, current staff of government in the public services, with the hope that they can improve service delivery, but it will be unfair to continue to spend taxpayers' money on people who are not working or don't have the capacity to work for what we're paying them on. Like we said in the beginning, we pay 40 billion Naira every year. I mean, it's only fair that we get the value for what we're paying for, and that value will come in the form of services to our people. And I'm sure you will not encourage us to allow people to continue, in the tradition of the past where they don't even come to work, they just get paid. Some people are abroad and they get paid locally. I mean, that it's just not fair. It's not the right thing to do. You talk about sustaining mega. I thought I mentioned in one of my interventions or responses that the only way to sustain a vision like this is first to get, in mass participation, get all of you involved, all of you to know that this is where we are going. And this is how the plan on how to get there. And when you see that we are not on track, and that is the responsibility of everybody to indicate so, and also do what is required to put us back on track. It's not one man's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of only the leader. It's a responsibility of society. And it's also to put in place very clear systems and yardsticks for measurements so that people know. Like a child in primary 6 today must understand that, look, in 3-4 years' time, government said they will do X, Y, Z for us in terms of training us or giving us vocational skills so that by the time we finish SSS3 and going to university, we also already have a vocational skill. If that is one of the things we've agreed, for instance, then we will not have to say this is how it's going to be done, and everybody will measure it or monitor it. The next person who comes in, except he has very superior arguments as why not to, he will, that's only the time he will say, no, this is not valid, this is the way we'll go. But let us be able to hold our leadership accountable for something. And once we have a plan, then let us hold them accountable for it. When we politicians come and make promises, that promises must be premised on something. Today, we just come in, I'll provide roads, I'll provide water, but there's no way to measure it. Okay, this road, tell us the overall plan. How many did we, how much did we do the last 4 years? How much are we expecting to do in the next 4 years? Let's measure it. Someone talked about the indiscriminate sale of land. Yes, we've noticed that there's been a lot of pressure on land, a lot of influx in the city, and in many communities we're seeing young people selling land indiscriminately. It's something we are working on very quietly. We have an agency of government, the Private Property Protection Agency, and we have a law which makes it criminal, and you could go to jail for 10 years, up to 10 years, if you sold somebody's land in this, without permission. Or so that committee is being revamped. As I speak today, we have a special squad that is going after cases. In fact, there's a community where the youths went into somebody's farm and bulldozed the palm trees there and tried to begin to portion the land and sell. Those the Nigi of that community and some of its chiefs are in detention as we speak. I mean, are in jail as we speak. In fact, there's a community this last weekend. I've had the military and the police in that community just waiting and engaging the youths who are selling land in that community. And as we pick them, we'll arrest them and arraign them, and they'll go to jail. So it's something we are going to be very, very firm on, because we don't want to discourage investors who come in, and people like you who come in, buy land, and you cannot have ownership of the land. I hope this is the last question. It's past 10. Somebody talked about the distractions from the wranglings within our party, the PDP. Well, it's political times. It's not unexpected. We, as you know, even before we got into PDP, there were crises from their last congresses. Since we got into, there's been all sorts of back and forth. But our position is 6 months after, we need to form government, and we need to have a united party, and we need to make sure that all the key stakeholders in the party are talking to each other. There's always bound to be disagreements, but there must be some common purpose and resolution. That's what is happening now. I mean, the next few weeks may be quite turbulent for the party, but it'll settle because majority of the party people, majority of most party members are in support of this government, and they trust us. They believe that we're here based on the mandate of the people, and they support what we're doing. Naturally, not everybody in the political process will be aligned, and that's where the process of political negotiations now come in. So yes, I'll be the last person to deceive you that, oh, it's easy, it's not, a problem. It is a problem. There's three elements. You have the people who came with me into PDP. You had the old PDP people. Some of them felt disgruntled, or they felt that they have been shortchanged from the last Congress they did. There are those who are in the executive who felt that, okay, they came in, they were appointed officers of, by virtue of the Congress, and therefore the constitutional party gives them power. But I'm saying, you know what, it doesn't really matter. You have to negotiate. Everybody has to give something, and it has to be give and take so that we can have harmony. So we'll go through it. It's a common occurrence in politics. It's nothing to worry about, and it will not affect governance. It will not affect governance seriously. We will get it past us and we move on. So if you don't mind, Loretta, it's been a long evening for all of us. I can see some people dozing off already, right? And to say, I'm sure we've taken enough questions, and we will not wait for another 3 months before we have another session.
You have taken a lot of questions, and the team that has come as well. However, I think before we log off, there is a responder from the diaspora, and there is a question that has repeated itself in the chat. I'm really sorry, but I think we just have to take those two. The first one is what is happening in Ekpoma University, and the third one is, Your Excellency, sir, this is from Helen. There is a lot of things you've itemized to do within the next 4 years. Please, sir, what do you think would be the implications of the remaining time frame on this, and what is your plan for continuity? So the ECOMA question and this last question, and the ambassador will respond on behalf of the diaspora, and we'll round up. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it would have been a crime to have left this chat without talking about AAU. As you are all aware, we have 2 state universities, the Ambrosali University and the Edo State University, Uzaire. The Ambrosali University is 40 years old, so it's the second oldest state university in this country. And in its history, it has several achievements to its glory. Several of you are graduates from that great school. But the Ambrosali that produced those amazing law graduates, prize-winning law graduates, prize-winning economists and what have you, it's not the same school you have today. It's, you will not send your award to that school. This is a school where between faculty, staff, it's everything. If I publish the report on the visitation panel, you will be shocked at what is going on in that school. And it's one strike after another. The children are not learning. They are being extorted. There's the girls are being sexually harassed by teachers. I mean, just a whole, you have 3 times more administrative staff and academic staff. There's just so much going on. But the net is that that school is not what we expect it to be. And we just needed to move in to do certain things. So what we did was to look at the law setting it up, and we then amended that law to give the visitor and the proprietor, a lot more powers, which we are exercising. We've dissolved the council, we've appointed an acting vice chancellor. We're going to be putting in a very high quality interim council in place, and then giving them a period of time, 1 year, to bring that university back to where it used to be. This university is a state university. It should be an international university. It's not a local university that, where all sorts of local battles are being fought. I mean, how can you have a university and have association of professors from a particular ethnic group in a university? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And, you have people who first degree AAU, second degree AAU, PhD AAU. You can't even go to another university to even go on sabbatical for a while. So we just thought, look, this university holds so much potential, and I cannot be reforming and transforming basic education at the rate we're doing. Those kids in our basic education system are learning and doing so well. In a few years' time, they will be graduating to go into this, university. Is that the kind of university we're planning, preparing them for? Then in today's age, today post-COVID, university education globally is changing or has changed, right? Why will our own university not change? People are now, most students have been at home because of COVID. They can't attend classes, but they've been receiving learning and receiving lectures at home with technology. Is that the case here? How are we preparing our university to? My ideal is to look within the next 2 years, reposition the University of Ekpoma and affiliate it to a foreign university. So the kind of degrees they receive, there will be degrees that are recognized, or degrees, same sort of degrees, awarded in, many universities where we try to send our children to abroad. So for us, AAU, is a great university, 40 years old. We want to revamp it and bring it back to its glory days, and just stop this whole drag where they're trying to make the university a provincial or a provincial university. That's not the goal. Everybody talks about continuity. And sometimes you want to make me really worried and say, okay, is that something I don't know, that what we're doing will continue? I'm very confident that, once we make the changes we're making now, you can't go back to what it used to be. I mean, not the 200 or so of you or 300 of you who have taken 2-3 hours of your time tonight to listen. You're interested in Edo. You're not going to sit back and allow Edo slip back to what it used to be. I don't expect you to. The way you fought for me and stood by me, I'm sure that's the same way you'll fight to throw out anybody who derails the plan. The important thing is for us to just have a sense of ownership. If we all believe in it and own it, then we'll fight to make sure it is sustained. Sustainability cannot be the responsibility of only one person or the current government. Sustainability is it's the responsibility of all of us who are listening on this call tonight. I want to thank you very much, Loretta. I want to thank you, all you great guys who put this together, and say I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Okay.
Lamte, over to you, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's been a very wonderful time, actually, with you and the team. At this junction, I want to call on Ambassador Matthew Biki Uwaifo to, of course, give the vote of thanks. Ambassador, please.
Good evening, Your Excellency, and the Deputy Governor of Edo State. Good evening to the HOS, Barrister Anthony Okungbowa, and I wish to say that I'm very happy to be part of this conversation this evening. And I wish to thank all Edolites in the diaspora and Edolites worldwide for being a part of this meeting. This is one of the things that make us proud as Edo people, because today in Nigeria, our governor, His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki, is the only one that regularly interacts with the cross-section of the Edo society through Zoom meetings. I've never seen any other governor doing that. So it is a first, and I want to thank everybody present here for your time in showing your support by sacrificing your time to be part of this meeting. Sir, I just want to mention briefly and touch on hard facts that were not addressed during this conversation. One of them is a K1 road. And the K1 road, I paid for everything that I do. I make sure I have the facts on my hand. I make sure I make on-the-ground assessment. I visited the K1 road. I'm here on Sabatica. I'm at home right now in Benin City. And there's a lot that I've tried to do during this period quietly by myself. I visited the K1 road last week, and I visited it again 2 days ago. Now, the contractor handling that road, I think in my own assessment, is not doing what should be done with that road. It's a dual carriageway, right? And the foundation, laying foundations for dual carriageway takes a little bit longer. Yes, but I traveled all the way from Oba Market Road Junction up to past Agbonifo's Church, climb it through Sakpama's Hotel by the left there, and straight to Ugbioko. And all throughout, I only found one tipper carrying sand, and then some earth-moving equipment just parked by the roadside. And then when you pass there, coming from Agbonifo's Church up to First Bank, they are laying some bricks, some side curbs on the road. And the normal practice that I know the world over is that you finish constructing a road before you start laying pegs, and you start laying curbs, and they are laying curbs. And also we said, okay, the rains are disturbing them. Maybe that is why they are not working. But they carry sand, they pour it on the road, earth-filling sand. And when the rain falls, it turns very muddy. This approach, like it's done everywhere I've visited, Ebonyi State, Kenya, Tanzania, and so on, even South Africa, is that when you are doing a dual carriageway, you start on one side. When that side, you construct it up to a point, you now open the other, you close the other side, construct that side, you construct it up to a point, you open it, and then you start constructing the other side. I think the contract play in a conflicting situation. They think about the comfort of the people, because a lot of phone calls, a lot of complaints have come because of a K1 road not being handled the right way. And the question has been this: is it that the state government did not pay the contractors, or there's no money to pay the contractors? What exactly is happening about the K1 road? We also go to technical road. The edge, I visited it and I saw earth moving equipment time ago, digging gutters on the road. But after they removed it and brought a lot of foreigners outside and so on, who are now digging those same gutters with hoes and shovels. I don't, it quite says me, construction firm should lead that out and bring people from other states to start digging gutters in our place. And after talking about that, sir, I wish to quickly mention to every Edolite in the diaspora, please, you see, you cannot ride on propaganda. You cannot keep going with whatever you hear on the internet or anything. Try to find out your facts. And once you have seen the facts, then you can judge the right situation. I want to thank God that God has seen it fit in our own lifetime to give us a governor that is divinely appointed. The Ematon one. Ematon in Benin language is iron. You cannot break iron with your hands. And we have an iron in State House. If not, a lot of things would have gone down. And finally, For the diaspora people, please. Everywhere, security, security, security. I've been here now for over 100 days. And I can assure everybody that when I made a video 3 months ago, that was in December and January, that the state governor has put in apparatuses that we will soon see the results. People thought I was joking. Now the results are there. Please, Edo State is calm. If you want to come and invest, come and invest. A lazy man blames his tools. Stop talking about security. And security right now has been revolutionized. Everybody from Edo North, Edo Central is involved in this. The keke nape drivers, the man on the street, the villagers, everybody is now involved in this revolution. So what I would say is that Edo State is calm and people should come in. And I equally want to thank Yusuf Haruna, the special advisor or the man the governor put in charge for of the vigilantes. I visited his office. I saw what was going on. That was 2 months ago. And I also visited different villages and different areas of Edo State. And I was able to see that the security apparatus of the governor is working on the ground. And people from Uronigbe, a lot talk a lot and this, but I was able to see within myself. I spent 3 days in Uronigbe. Uronigbe rubber estate was not invaded by Fulani herdsmen. The forest on the old road, because there are 2 roads to Uronigbe, Agbo Road and the old road. On that old road side, it's always lonely when people are moving. But even on that side, it is very, very safe now. So please, let us not dwell on self-hate. Let us promote Edo State by our own selves. Let us love ourselves to know that we are in a paradigm shift right now. And the mega agenda is not only for our generation. Maybe some of us, may God's name be praised, might not even be there in 2050. But we would have been a part of something, a legacy being left. So I want to thank everybody for being present this evening. And I want to assure everybody in the diaspora that your government knows what it's doing. And it is a people-oriented government. I'm neither a PDP or APC. I am just a man with a passion for Edo State. And for people, please, I want to say it. I see the problems in PDP as the tiniest storm in the tiniest cup. It will take care of itself. Let us involve ourselves in development matters. That is a party issue, and I'm very sure that the governor, the deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, the SSG, and all those people involved in the political affairs of the state can best settle that matter themselves. Let us stop spreading propaganda. Thank you all for listening to me, and thank you, Your Excellency, for briefing your people and being people-oriented. And once again, HOS, you've done a very beautiful work with the transition committee because they visited every strata of the society to seek their views. And I want to thank Austin Osakwe for his contributions, which have been very unique, and his education this evening, which has put all of us at ease. God bless Edo State, God bless the governor, and God bless every Edo person worldwide, especially those in the diaspora. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Lerner, go ahead, ma'am.
Your Excellency, he raised some issues. I don't know if you want to respond and then log off, or I know everybody is tired.
Thank you. Okay, I have heard you on the comments on Akenwa Road. Don't worry, it's not an issue.
Osionwo is recurring in the chat. Osionwo, we are not hearing about it anymore.
Okay, for Akenwa Road, we are not going to contractor. We have enough money to complete that project. I will find out personally what is going on. I'm sure the major work has been done. It's just left for surfacing the road, the paving has been done. I won't be surprised if they come into site and finish up on time. But the only thing I can think about that is that the rains, particularly in April, were quite treacherous and may have, slowed down the pace of work for them. But I will find out. But I want to assure you clearly that funding is not a problem at all. We had raised the bond early this year, and that was part of the project we were to fund, and the money is there in the bank to fund the contractor. Osioma Power is on. I mean, that's what I'm using now from Government House. Yeah, but we are trying to create an electricity commission with the laws that will allow them to be able to sell to people outside of states, state facilities. Our secretariat is being powered by Osioma, the Government House is being powered by Osioma. It's on, it's working. And we actually have a project to put about 70 kilometers of street lights around Benin. That is working, the contractors are working on that. It's going to be powered by Osioma. We have to change the law to enable a distribution company move that power from Osioma to your own homes. And that is what we are working on now. And let's keep our fingers crossed. Before long, that law should be passed and the necessary regulatory permits obtained so that we can get power to individuals. But be rest assured that the turbines are there, they are firing, and we are, at least that's what I'm using, and that's what government is using. I will extend it to more Edo people.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think on that note, we want to thank everybody. I mean, this is pure tenacity. I am really, really proud to be an Edo woman today. The Edo is blazing the trail. This is paradigm shift. To have over 300 people and to still have over 200 at this time, I am really, really, really pleased. I thank everybody who worked from the state governor's team with us to get this organized. I thank those who worked from here in the diaspora, people like Emi Toya, Mosai Sobakpolo, and Lady Linda Esosa Edogiawere, Adeswa Obasuhan, Isoken Ibie, what we would do without you, Joy Giamusoy, John Sinodibo, you are spot on. GBK Media Incorporated, Kenny Bazwaye, Newton Igbinigun, Nosa Obaseki, Uncle Sonny Rabo, the veteran, what would we do without you? Oria Hilamte Iponsa, Uesesa Domosa, Tony Agbont, we thank you. And to Ambassador Matthew BQ Wife, we thank you. So everybody, every single person who has contributed to this program succeeding in one way or the other, we also thank you. Even to the hackers who tried to hack the system, we saw you and we say thank you. We get better because of people like you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. My name is Loretta Oduwari-Buroko. Thank you. Lamte. Thank you,
Thank you very much. Of course, personally, I'm very much overwhelmed. And that's how I'm going to say. And on that note, we have come to the end of this particular program. And hopefully, like the governor said, probably in another 3 months or less, the governor is going to be interacting with us again. So let's stay close. And like Ambassador Biki said, let us reduce, how much we spread false information. We've heard directly from the government, we've heard from the governor himself, and of course, a lot of what is spreading around. Some of them have been refuted, and of course, the governor has updated us on the state of Edo State. And of course, we can only live here and be proud to be Edo indigenes. On that note, my people, I want to say thank you and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Gladys Amadin says you are still looking wide awake despite all the questions you answered. And she says the same for HOS and Philip Shaibi. Thank you, Gladys Amadin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stainless.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Excellency.
Good night. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.